부산 성스러 하늘 아래 김하루 동지가 높이 날아올랐네. 최고의 아버지 김정은 배신당했네. 제국주의 뱀들에 의해 목숨을 잃었네.
당신은 우리의 지도자입니다, 하루야.
그의 삼촌이 외쳤고 김하루 동지는 당과 함께 굳게 섰네. 오 김하루 동지 우리의 길잡이별. 오 김하루 동지 멀리서 빛나는 빛. 마법 빗자루로 폭풍을 뚫고 강은 당신의 위대한 이름 아래 번영하리라. 명명의 학교 붉게 물든 새벽 단결과 힘이 영원히 뿌리 내린 곳. 용감하고 진실된 로운 동지를 만나고 지혜로운 혜미나 동지와 함께 했네. 서범식 교수는 얼음 같은 가르침으로 그를 단련했고 동영 교장은 귀중한 조언으로 그를 이끌었네. 오 김하루 동지 우리의 길잡이별. 오 김하루 동지 멀리서 빛나는 빛. 마법 빗자루로 폭풍을 뚫고 강은 당신의 위대한 이름 아래 번영하리라. 제국주의 서방의 깊은 그림자 속에서 겁쟁이 볼데모르드가 둥지에서 음모를 꾸몄네. 그의
This is what you could end up looking like if you eat some of the raw, frozen shrimp being sent to the United States by other countries. Now, let me tell you what I'm talking about. In late August, the FDA found that raw frozen shrimp from Indonesia was being sold in Walmart, specifically in Walmart stores in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Texas, and West Virginia. It was being sold under the Walmart label called the Great Value label. If you eat it, how could you end up looking like the alien in the Alien? Because the shrimp was radioactive. I kid you not.
I might have had some of that shrimp, Trevor.
Did you like it?
I'm going to have an alien explode out of my chest.
Oh,
Welcome,
no.
Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try F Podcast, where we try not to have the podcast up. Yes, I think that I want to give a shout out to that first video really quick. That was a thing of beauty.
That was hilarious.
That first video was Harry Potter North Korea Wizard by Demon Flying Fox. I'm going to say that again. Harry Potter North Korea Wizard by Demon Flying Fox. So, that made me feel special. All right, so
You are special. In my
Thank you,
eyes.
sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So, how are you today, Mr. Trevor?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am okay. I have no complaints. We've got a big night tonight, which is probably one of the reasons why we're so late.
How big is it?
It's a big night. Big
That's what
night.
she said.
Let's see. Darwin 110. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime doll. Hello. Welcome aboard. So,
Hello, Darwin.
all right. So we are going to start off today with our final video on NDEs. So we've tried to do one on heaven, one on hell, one that was kind of in the middle. And now we're going to discuss the subject kind of more broadly from a, I guess you would say, a scientific, perspective. And, yeah, we're going to talk about that. And then we are going to discuss how George Orwell hated H.G. Wells. And he wrote an essay titled Wells, Hitler, and the World State. So we'll be reading that article and discussing how H.G. Wells was a terrible human being.
You mean you'll be reading it?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be reading it?
I will be reading it. I will be reading it. Fear not. I won't. I would have sent it to you if you were going to read it.
Oh, okay.
And then guess who's back, Mr. Trevor?
Back in black?
Yes.
Hit the sack?
Very black. AMmon Hillmon.
Oh,
Apparently, yes, apparently you and Cody were right about him being a demon man. So,
A demon man?
a demon man, yes.
Oh, okay.
He was into your, he was sharing a talent with your Bigfoot friends. He has a specific talent. He could teleport. But we'll get into that later. So,
Teleporting demons.
Teleporting demons. So then, lastly, we will be discussing Epstein because I promised I would not let it go. But Trevor, I told myself I wasn't going to let the Three Stooges logo replace the overhead, overlay, whatever. I wasn't gonna put up the Three Stooges logo until October. I made myself that vow. I almost did it today though, because it was a crazy week. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that at the end of the show.
Heck yeah. Did you know my birthday's in October?
Your birthday's in October?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
So maybe we can give the Three Stooges birthday hats.
There you go. That'll work. Darwin1108 says, it's from Spaceballs, duh. LOL. I recognized it from Looney Tunes. They had a singing frog that would do like a kick dance and had a top hat and would sing the exact same song. But we're old.
Yep.
So anyway.
We're old.
So let's get into our first episode for the evening, or part, I guess you would say. So we're going to start off with NDEs. And this video is on the YouTube channel Discovery Science. Oh, Darwin118. Good stream, by the way. No lag so far. Thank you very much. We're trying.
Yes, thank you.
We're trying to fix that.
I'm trying to listen to it too, and so far it sounds good.
Great. So this video is called Is the Soul Real? A neurosurgeon explores the evidence. And this is from the 2005 Dallas Conference on Science and Faith. The YouTube channel is Discovery Science. It's Michael Egner talking about whether the mind and the brain are the same thing or whether or not they're different. And during that discussion, he talks about near-death experiences and kind of some of the common themes around them. So I thought we would take a few minutes to react to that video. So, Mr. Trevor, are you ready?
No.
Well, you're gonna have to adapt.
Well, I gotta wait for the lag to catch up.
Don't say that. Don't say that. We're doing good so far. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go.
Near-death experiences are sort of the paradigmatic example of a separation between the soul or the mind and the brain. And while some near-death experiences may be not genuine, they may be hallucinations or whatever, there's no doubt that there is a real core of real experiences. They're probably about 20% of near-death experiences.
So,
So why would he say that somebody would have a hallucination if they're about to die?
because some people believe that as the brain is shutting down, it tries to comfort itself by, showing relatives and that kind of thing to give the person a sense of peace before they expire. That's one theory anyway. Or the lack of oxygen would do something similar. There's a whole bunch of theories to try to explain away NDEs. So that's what he's referring to.
Gotcha.
Are veridical, meaning they can be checked. The person knows things that occurred when they were dead, things that went on inside the room, etc. The probably most famous near-death experience was Pam Reynolds, who was an aneurysm patient, operated on in 1991. And in order to safely operate on the aneurysm, her surgeon had to stop her heart after cooling her body down to about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And that gave him about 30 minutes to fix the aneurysm. He drained all the blood out of her brain, fixed the aneurysm, and then rewarmed her and started her heart again. And she survived and did very well, actually. She said that in the recovery room, she said, I watched the operation. He said, what? You were brain dead. You couldn't possibly watch the operation. So she said that as soon as her brain went dead, she popped out of her body, floated up to the ceiling, watched the surgery. She said that her vision was amazingly accurate, and it was a beautiful scene. And then she told him what he talked about during the surgery. She told him what the instruments looked like. and what music was playing in the room during the surgery. And things like this have happened a number of times. So in my view, there's no question that some near-death experiences are very real. The other thing that for me is very convincing is that people have surveyed the literature, and there are thousands of examples of this in the literature, where people go down a tunnel and they see loved ones and relatives at the other end of the tunnel. Nobody in the medical literature who's had a near-death experience has ever seen a living person at the other end of the tunnel. It's not like you kind of want your mother and your mother's still alive and you see her at the other end of the tunnel. Only dead people are at the other end of the tunnel, including people that you didn't know were dead. There are a number of examples of people who were in car accidents where someone in the car died and they didn't know the person died because they were critically injured also, and they saw that person on the other side of the tunnel, but not people in the car who didn't die.
So what do you think of that, Mr. Trevor?
I think that he's right. You know, a lot of experiences, a lot of people have the same experience of where they float above the table or light at the end of the tunnel.
What about seeing only dead people? You've been the one kind of like looking at all the different NDEs for the past several weeks. So have you encountered anything that would verify that in your research?
Yeah, there's lots of people that. I think it was the girl we listened to last week. She talked about the light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm talking about the dead people, only seeing dead people.
Oh, the only dead people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does seem to be a common theme.
Yeah.
They only see past relatives or...
I find that very interesting.
Yeah, someone else that they haven't seen in years that they only met like one time. They passed away.
I think one of my favorite stories is, this is nothing to do with dead people, but I don't know if it's brought up in this video or not, but somebody was, rising up into the sky as they were severing their mortal coil, let's say, and they saw a pair of shoes on the roof, and they commented about the shoes, and then they went up to the roof and checked, and sure enough, there was a pair of shoes there. I just thought that's very interesting.
Must have been Nargles.
What?
Nargles?
I have no idea what that is.
Luna Lovegood? From Harry Potter?
Oh, okay. See, look, just because I
people
played
steal-
the North
people
Korea Harry
steal
Potter
her
thing, I don't
shoes.
know anything about Harry Potter. I just thought it was
Okay,
funny.
Well, people steal her shoes
Okay.
and then do stuff with them, hide them, and she's like, one of the scenes, Harry is asking where her shoes are, and she leans over and she was like, "It's probably the narwhals."
Oh, okay. I'm sure that plot point went somewhere in the series, but anyway, moving on.
Everybody asked about Phineas Gage. Phineas Gage was a gentleman who, in a work accident in the 19th century, had an iron spike that was driven through his brain. And his personality changed. He was a religious, upstanding man before
I've
this.
heard of this story.
And after this, he wasn't too bad a
Yeah.
guy, but he kind of lived the high life a little bit. And people say, well, doesn't that prove that the brain completely controls the mind? And it doesn't. Gage's emotional state changed. But there's no evidence that there was any change in his mathematics or reason or things like that. So obviously, if you have a brain injury, you can have changes in the way you behave. But that doesn't mean that every aspect of the mind comes from the brain. A question that is being...
Okay, well, that's a little bit of a twist. I thought he went further into NDEs here. I guess not. But that's okay. So I did want to plug this because he does go into NDEs in a great amount of detail in the book, The Immortal Mind. Let me change that flipping box a little bit. I hate YouTube. I can't get these boxes right. I despise OBS.
What are we flipping?
I want to get the whole book title in really quick, so give me a second. Let me
Oh, I
adjust
see.
the square here because it's being ridiculous.
The whole book title
Yeah, there we go.
is The Immortal Mind, a neurosurgeon's case for the existence of the soul.
That's right. And in this book, which I just finished reading, he goes a lot more into NDEs, talks more about Pam Reynolds, talks more about a variety of different situations.
Pam
And
Reynolds?
these NDEs that he brings up are actually verified, meaning that they were able to confirm certain details that the person who's going through the experience said during the surgery. So if they had particular tools, the person would describe the tools and everything would be accurate. Or perhaps like what he was saying in the video, they would have like somebody else would have died in a car wreck and that person would meet them in the NDE, but that person couldn't have known the individual was dead. There's a lot of verifiable details that he brings up in this book, and you can get it on Audible or Kindle or hardcover or whatever. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's talking about the basically the fact that the mind is not the brain, which we talk a lot about on this show. But yeah, and that's one of the
mind is only a product of the mind.
Yes, that's kind of like saying water is wet, but thank you. So
Sorry.
it's all right. No, trying to think of another good example of that. But yeah, bottom line is the book goes into a lot more detail on NDEs. One thing that he did say that I guess I would ask, that kind of pick your brain about, is he thought that NDEs were not a good way to really narrow down a particular religion. So it seems like people in other religions will see their religious figures. People who are Christians, they'll see Christ. You got the light at the end of the tunnel. Somebody did posit an interesting theory that Americans will describe the light as a tunnel, but other areas they'll describe it as something else. And so this light at the end of the tunnel may be kind of a culturally dependent way to kind of describe a indescribable phenomena. Like people are struggling to come up with a way to articulate what this light is and all the rest of it. So they're coming up with these analogies.
Yeah.
So a light at the end of the tunnel or being enveloped in light. One culture had some reference to a python. It's just like, but it's all these different ways of describing kind of a path of light of some sort that you get enveloped in. So
And one of the ones I asked to, I forgot the guy's name, but he talked about the light at the end of the tunnel, and then he referenced that was Lucifer instead of Christ, or going to the other side, because Lucifer is the angel of light. He disguises himself as the angel of light. And he
Really?
went down that path with it. Yeah.
really?
I'll
So
have to find that one and bring that one.
well, when did he figure out that this light at the end of the tunnel was the devil?
Well, it wound up being someone. He got to the end of the tunnel, and it was a light, and it was an angel as the light, and he thought it was Jesus at first, and he wound up testing the spirit, like the Bible says, test the spirit that you meet,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked about it tried to deceive him or something like that. It's a very interesting story. I'll have to find it and show it to you. I forgot the guy's name.
That is interesting. So that's one I haven't heard before, that the light at the end of the tunnel is the devil. But anyway, yeah, he was saying that these guys basically see a variety of experiences. You being the one who's looked at all these NDEs, did you see anything outside of Christianity or outside of like any kind of Western interpretation? Did you happen to get a chance to look at NDEs from other cultures?
I tried to, yeah, and
What'd you find?
a lot of the ones from other cultures, they're in other languages, so I clicked off of those.
Were there no subtitles?
I can't read that fast.
Okay.
But no, what I really looked for was not other cultures, but other like spiritualness, like
Like New Agey people?
New Agey people.
Okay.
I found a few of those, and honestly, those were more. They seemed like they were just telling a story, like they had read something or they were reading something, and it was just hard to believe those other ones.
It's hard to believe those, huh? Why was it hard to believe? Because we've talked about this for several weeks. We've been
Well,
sitting here
a lot of-
evaluating accounts,
Yeah, a lot of them were like that girl last week that we went over.
trying to spin a yarn.
where they would spend, you know, where there was one where it was a lady was excited to meet the devil in her NDE,
She was excited to meet the devil.
and I didn't listen to the whole thing, but she got to meet. She went to hell and she met Satan, and they had a conversation, and he basically was like, "I can make you this deal," and she took the deal, and that's about when I clicked off of it. I was like, this is not good.
So she made a crossroads like thing on her NDE
Yeah,
during her NDE.
so she could come back.
Did she see any demons or anything?
No, I don't think so. But
Well, let's see if we can find something else here, because that video did not go into it nearly as long as I thought it would. So,
do you know anything about Randy K?
Randy K, I do not. I do not.
He had an NDE, and he started looking into all these things, and he's got some stuff on NDEs, a lot of stuff. He's basically poured his whole life into it. I could send you a video from him about.
Well, I got another video, a little quick minute long here thing from Michael Egner. Let's see if he brings up somebody other than Pam Reynolds.
Lost cultures. People often
Let's see. This is Michael Egner talking further about NDEs here, so let's see what he has to say.
Near-death experiences are surprisingly common. There's no question. There's been probably tens of millions of people over human history have had things like this. And there tends to be patterns to them that occur across cultures. People often feel that they're leaving their body. They often see their body, and they will hover in the vicinity of where they have died. And they often describe a kind of a tunnel experience where they go down a passageway and they come into a different world. And the world they come into is often very beautiful, although there are some negative experiences. There are people who have hellish near-death experiences. They're probably the most common ones are the pleasant ones. And people go to the other side of the tunnel and they see a beautiful world. They often will have some interaction with the divine figure. They generally will meet dead friends and relatives. A fascinating aspect of near-death experiences is that, to my knowledge, there's never been a report of someone having a near-death experience where they met anyone on the other side who wasn't dead. That is, the only people they meet are dead people.
Well, here's Gary Habermas. Let's see what Gary Habermas has to say.
This woman,
Gary Habermas is another apologist. He talks about NDEs and other types of evidences for Christianity as well. So let's see what he has to say here on the subject.
has she's being operated on. She has a near-death experience. She's up above her body. She's looking down. She's watching herself. And sometimes they don't even know it's them because they identify with who's up by the ceiling. That's their point of consciousness. And on the top of this medical device that was in the room, hospitals often rivet numbers like offices do to keep track of typewriters and to keep track of things. She looked down and there was a 12-digit number riveted onto the top of this medical thing. And she said, I'm OCD. And so I memorized the 12-digit number. As soon as she comes to, she says to the nurse, write this down. Now, I'm not saying this is a number, but it's like, write this down, 675-21600. 12 numbers. And the nurse wrote it down. And they were later moving the apparatus out of the room. And the nurse jumps in and says, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Let me get my sheet out. Wow, the number's exactly right. Now, she sees that in a state, and many of these people, when you have a cardiac arrest with ventricular fibrillation, this particular species of cardiac arrest, you have no measurable heart waves, and within an average of 15 seconds, you have no brain waves. So if she was out of her body for as long as 5 minutes, she theoretically has no heart or brain waves. How does she know to repeat that data? How does she know what's up there? So that's one well-evidenced one. Boy, people ask me, they'll say, well, I'll say, what kind of evidence do you want? I'll give you. Another one is a real fast one. A guy had surgery. He was up above his body watching the doctors do this, but he got maybe a little bored. I don't know. He started drifting a little bit, looking around. He went through a wall into the next surgical ward, and he watched a guy having his leg amputated. So he gives an explanation of what happens in the room with the leg amputation because I saw it. But you're on that bed. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I saw it. How do you know? Here's some explanation. I'm making up what he might have said, but he could have said, well, all the nurses in the room had white uniforms on, except for this one. She had a pale green uniform on. I mean, something like that. Or these are actual cases. In one, a person dropped a beaker on the floor and it broke, and the person watched it. Or in another one, a woman's pin fell off her dress, and a doctor stepped on it. And the near-death person said, I know who lost the pen, and I can name the doctor who stepped on it because I saw it. So these are data, and many times in the absence of heart and brain, any kind of activity, measurable. And so it seems like we're talking about, here's the point, we're talking about consciousness beyond the initial death of heart and brain. Now, it's near death because the person comes back from it, but during those minutes while they're out, it's highly evidential.
Okay, so there's a few evidence. Let's look at somebody else's perspective, somebody who probably doesn't agree. Let's look at the website.
When I first
Big
started
thing
looking into
here.
near-death experience,
And I want to point out something right away. You can already kind of tell what this person's going to think. They're already teasing their opinion out. Can you guess what... Trevor, can you read the title from where you're at, sir?
Are near-death experiences real? Here's what science has to say. Dr. Bruce Grayson for Big Think.
Now, do you think they're going to be for? Do you think they're going to believe them in them? Or do you think they're going to say, nah, there's some other explanation?
He's probably going to come up with some scientific reason why they're not real.
I'm betting the same thing. Do you want to tell me why you came to that conclusion, sir?
Believe the science.
That's exactly what I said. I saw. Let's see what the science has to say. That's the exact same thing. I read that and I'm like, oh, they're gonna come up with some bull crap. So,
Science.
so let's see what the science has to say.
experiences back in the late 1970s, I assumed that there would be some physiological explanation for that. What I found over the decades was that the various simple explanations we could think of, like lack of oxygen, drugs given to the people, and so forth, don't pan out. The data do not support them. And furthermore, the phenomena of NDEs, of near-death experiences, seem to defy a simple materialistic explanation. When we first started presenting this material,
I'm already surprised. We haven't got to the end, but I'm like, what? You're going to admit that you're going to admit that the regular explanations don't work? What? Really? I'm shocked. Huh. All right, well, let's see. Let's see if he holds to that.
in medical conferences, there will be a polite silence in the audience. And now, in the 21st century, when we do this, it's rare that doctors don't stand up in the audience and say, let me share my experience with you. So it's pretty well accepted now that these are common experiences that people have all the time and that have profound effects. There's still, of course, a lot of controversy about what causes them, but not about the fact that they exist and are fairly common.
What are near-death experiences?
I'm Bruce Grayson. I'm a professor emeritus of psychiatry and neurobehavioral
that's
sciences at
Huh?
That's the problem. He's a professor.
Well, he hasn't misrepresented anything yet, so he might be straight with everybody. We'll see. I want to see what he has to say.
the University of Virginia Medical School. And I've recently come out with a book called After. A doctor explores what near-death experiences reveal about life and beyond. Near-death experiences are profound, subjective experiences that many people...
Well,
The
there you go, right
beyond.
there. First buzzword. Subjective. It ain't real. It's in your head. We don't know what it is, but it's in your head. That's what
It's all hallucination.
That's the first loaded term right there. So he teased everybody like he was gonna affirm it, and now we're gonna start getting into whatever his explanation is.
will have when they come close to death, or sometimes when they are in fact pronounced dead. And they include such difficult to explain phenomena as a sense of leaving the physical body, reviewing one's entire life, encountering some other entities that aren't physically present, and at some point coming to a point of no return beyond which they can't continue and still come back to life. When they return, they often are profoundly changed by this experience. As I started my psychiatric training, I started being confronted by patients' reports of things that I couldn't explain. One happened to me when I was just a few weeks into my training. I was asked to see a patient who had overdosed in the emergency room. And I was in the cafeteria when the page came in, and I was eating dinner, and the page startled me, and I dropped my fork, spilling spaghetti sauce on my tie. Couldn't wipe it off, so I just covered it over with a lab coat so no one would see it. And then I went down to the emergency room to see the patient, and she was completely unconscious. I could not revive her. But her roommate was waiting to see me down the hall in another room. So I went down to the other room, talked to the roommate for about 15 or 20 minutes, and there was no air conditioning back in the 70s, so I unbuttoned my lab coat so I wouldn't sweat so much, exposing the stain for about 10 minutes or so. I then went back to see the patient. She was still unconscious. When I went to see her in the morning, I introduced myself, and she stopped me and said, "I know who you are. I remember you from last night." That puzzled me, so I said something like, "Well, I'm surprised. I thought you were unconscious when I saw you last night." And she looked at me and said, "Not in my room. I saw you talking to my roommate down the hall." She sensed my confusion and started to tell me about the conversation I had with her roommate, where we were sitting, what we were talking about, and finally she said, "And you had a striped tie on with a red stain on it." That just blew me away. I didn't know how to deal with that. I couldn't think of any logical reason, any explanation for how she...
That reference is actually in Michael Egner's book. He does talk about that story, just for clarity
story?
there.
The same story?
Yeah, the same story about the spaghetti sauce on the tie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is an account that Egner actually mentions.
She could have known about that spaghetti stain. Nobody had seen it except her roommate, and she hadn't talked to the roommate since she came into the hospital. As a scientist, I knew I had to study this. It didn't make any sense to me. But scientists don't run away from things they don't understand. They run towards them. I never expected to spend so much time looking into near-death experiences. I thought at first it was just a strange anomaly. I'd spend a few years looking at them, find the physiological explanation, and put it behind me. I collected about 1,000 cases that people had sent to me about their own near-death experiences. Quickly realized that the stories I was getting from people who volunteered their stories to me were the same as the ones from people I interviewed in the hospital. We studied the physiological events around the near-death experience, psychological traits of the experiencers, and so forth, trying to find some logical explanation for these events. Most of us are taught that the mind is what the brain does, that all our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions, our memories are all created by the brain. However, that's not the whole story, and we have hundreds and hundreds of experiences that occur during a cardiac arrest or deep anesthesia when we know the brain is not capable of functioning well enough to create complex thoughts and feelings and memories. Most near-death experiencers say that in the near-death experience, their senses were incredibly heightened, and they often report hearing sounds they'd never heard on Earth and seeing colors that they'd never seen before. And when they come back, they don't know how to describe these things because there aren't words for them to describe them. One person said to me, it's like trying to draw an odor with a crayon. But they talk about their senses being so much more vivid in the NDE, and that gives the experience a sense of being more real than this world is.
That is something that I've heard a lot. Is their senses are heightened. Like a lot of them that I listen to, they all say that the colors were just so vibrant, and there were more colors than what we normally see.
Yeah. I think we might owe Big Think an apology. They seem to be giving a pretty honest shake of the whole thing. They're not telling us, oh, it's drugs. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, it's lack of oxygen or something.
I thought when he mentioned that she overdosed, he was going to blame it on the drugs, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, the second I saw science in the title, I was like, oh, here we go. But I stand corrected. The science. That's just all I hear anymore.
We'll both stand corrected.
Huh?
We'll both stand corrected.
Yeah, well, that's okay. This seems like a pretty good shake of it. So we got about 2 minutes to go. So let's finish her up.
Most near-death experiencers are pretty much the same around the world and through the centuries. Pliny the Elder wrote about a case like this in ancient Rome in the 1st century. We've gotten examples of near-death experiences from Western Europe, from the Middle East, from Asian cultures, Hindu Buddhist cultures, and from early cultures, Australian Aborigines and Native American societies that sound just like the stories we have today. However, how they describe these phenomena is influenced by their cultural background. For example, people all around the world will talk about encountering a warm, loving being of light that radiates unconditional love towards them. And if you're talking to someone who is raised in the United States, they may identify this as God or sometimes Jesus, whereas someone who is in a Hindu or Buddhist culture will not use those terms. Some of the lessons.
I wish you would say what those terms are, because this is something we keep coming across, and we need to look at like NDEs from other cultures, because that's kind of been a wall. Is you hear that other cultures are like describing them differently and seeing different figures or what have you. But
Well, maybe I'll look back into them.
yeah, we need to find something like that to really kind of get a sense.
There were some in like Asian countries.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't sure where, but it was all in Asian language, so it's like I can't read this and work at the same time, because most of the stuff I'm listening to at work.
Mm-hmm. Wagner had an interesting theory on the subject. He was basically saying, because he's Catholic, so he was basically postulating that as you're getting towards the other side, let's say, like people are seeing what they understand before they finally cross over. That might be an explanation to it. I don't know. I don't know how that really meshes with theology, because I grew up cessationist, so we didn't believe anything supernatural happened ever. It was kind of the upbringing. So these guys were like, oh, it's the brain dying, but that clearly doesn't work. So all those neurons. I think Michael Egner again makes the point in the book. It's all those sensations where the brain dies. It creates confusion, a lack of clarity. Nobody says that they're seeing things more vividly or whatever. Their senses are not enhanced in any way as they're dying. Everything becomes very chaotic and confusing by all accounts. So yeah, the idea that NDEs are the result of the brain shutting down doesn't really hold.
No, not really.
So yep. Yeah, so if you could find one from another culture, that would be maybe a way to end this. For perhaps next week or something.
Or next week.
Because I think we really need to hone in on that. So what do you think? I mean, you being a Christian, me being a Christian, what do you think? Everybody's seeing their own kind of cultural flavor, but it's the same basic pattern. What do you think's going on?
I think you're gonna see what you believe in. Part of it you'll see what you'll believe in, but at the same time, you're trying to make sense of what you're seeing while you're seeing it. So if you've never believed in anything like that, like if you're an atheist and you don't believe in anything, and then you see a light at the end of the tunnel, or you meet your relatives, and I bet that would be crazy.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is people trying to, like you said, explain what they're having a hard time understanding. You're trying to compute things that are basically new, so you're basically left with things you understand in your culture and your time, and you use those details to kind of fill in the gaps.
Which is probably why we see a lot of mostly just Christians and other religious people having NDEs like this, because they understand it a little bit because they're already into some sort of spiritualness. So
well, we'll have to kind of discuss that more in the future. I kind of think that one way that you could tell which religion is correct in light of NDEs is basically the theological, what we know from a theological perspective rather than an anecdotal. So Unconditional love, that's a Christian concept. You know, the idea of a life review, that's a Christian concept. You know, so you're seeing, even though they're seeing different divine figures, you are still getting like the basic steps of what Christianity predicts. Now, I'm not familiar with, from what I understand, there isn't a life review in Buddhism or something, but that is a pretty unique feature in Christianity. So I think looking at those patterns and kind of how that lines up with Christianity might be a way to tell. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd like to see someone talk about, a lot of people say their life will flash before their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to listen to an NDE about that, because I don't remember actually coming across anybody that talked about their whole life was shown to them in their last moments or anything like that.
Well, it happens after they leave the body. They go up to the light or whatever. They usually meet like a divine being, or they're in a room or a realm of some kind, and then they relive their life. But this is like well after they've left their body, usually. The whole life flashing before your eyes thing, it's like happening as you're dying. I don't know if I've ever heard of anybody going through that either.
I have to look into that.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were done. I guess we're not.
Hey, keep going.
Yeah, we'll have to keep going down this rabbit hole. But I think I'm onto something with looking at the actual theology and like what the religions predict when you die. You know, what all the religions actually predict that process is like. And I think from what I'm seeing, Christianity has the most accurate pattern, let's say.
Yeah.
So, but we'll leave it there. You're going to look for NDA from another culture next week.
Okay.
Sweet.
Unless we have a guest.
That's right. We might have a guest next week. We'll see. See if it works out. All right. Well, I think we're done with part 1. What do you think?
I think part 1 is done.
All right. We're going to do part 1. Guys, if you're on the live stream, stay with us. We're moving on to part 2. If you are watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Now on to part 2. So let me just
Party TV.
lead us right into it. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And for part 2, we are going to discuss George Orwell was not a fan of H.G. Wells. Now, I have been, for the last several weeks, doing a bit of a review on some of H.G. Wells' work, and basically making the case that the dude was a psychopath.
Which one?
H.G. Wells, the science fiction, Time Machine, Island of Dr. Monroe.
Right.
Last week we did Things to Come, that little commie propaganda piece, communist everywhere. So, but Orwell was not a big fan of H.G. Wells because of this whole situation, because of his beliefs, basically. And like I said last week, apparently a lot of people were familiar with him and thought he was a nut. That's what Grandma said. The man was a nut.
Who is George Orwell again?
George Orwell wrote 1984. He wrote Animal Farm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he wrote a number of... This is going to be a problem, Trevor. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to get the article to be the right size so people can actually see it. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it off.
You can pull it off.
Well, people might not be able to see our face, but I want people to be able to read it. So
read it.
Yeah, because I don't think it would be any good for me to just read it out loud. I think that would be very boring for people. So let me try to get this article size so people can actually see it.
Making an audiobook.
Yeah, I thought our previous box was going to do the job, but apparently not. So hang on here. We'll get there. There we go. So you might not be able to see our ugly mugs for a few minutes. I doubt that's going to bother most of you. But
it'll bother me.
Bother you? Well, it's because you're vain. So anyway, but yes, I guess I do need to have a little bit more of a lead up. So for those who don't know, H.G. Wells wrote 1984. He wrote Animal Farm. He participated in the Spanish War. Basically, they wanted to, he hated communists, basically, and he was warning against he was warning against this kind of these authoritarian kinds of government. And that's what Orwell is known for. And if you've went to school, you've probably read 1984 or Animal Farm at one point in time. Very famous works. But interestingly, H.G. Wells was not a communist, and he didn't like communists. I joke and say he was a communist because anybody, in my mind, anybody who goes, hey, that's my stuff, is a communist. But technically, Wells would have been a socialist or a Fabian socialist. These terms are kind of hard to pin down because they kept changing them because everybody realized they were awful, so they constantly had to rebrand.
Yeah.
So he was, to simply describe what H.G. Wells believed, H.G. Wells felt that rather than letting the capitalists run everything or letting the vile, dirty, unwashed masses run everything, we needed a technocratic elite, a system of oligarchs, of experts. We needed a group of experts to rule the world. In fact, he was one of the one world government types.
Oh, fun.
And he really pushed all that. So when the George Bush Sr. was talking about the New World Order, he's really referring to H.G. Wells and his group and what they were pushing. So it's not that George Bush came up with that whole cloth. This is actually a tradition that comes back from the early 1900s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's awful. It's all kinds of awful. Orwell recognized it as such, and I thought we could spend some time reading what Orwell had to say. So I'm going to just start, and this could be incredibly...
Let's talk about it. So it's like 1944. Go. Somewhere in there. Did we lose something?
No, that freaking thing doesn't... That page I was on doesn't have any of my audio.
Uh-oh.
Ah, oh my goodness. Guys, I
Hey, your
apologize
audio
for
went
that.
out.
I am a dummy. Oh, man. I probably just killed our stream because we don't have any audio. Yep. Go figure.
Sorry.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
Hey,
Okay.
you're back.
Well, let me just start from the top because I think I got it right. I think I got it right
I'll
from
pay
there.
attention this time.
Yeah.
I was listening to you on here and didn't realize till you said something that we lost audio on the stream.
Oh, that's so annoying. I hate OBS so much. It is such a pain in the butt. Okay. Check, check, check. Can you hear me now? Let's flip that over. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Here we go. We're back. Okay, so let me just start over from the top. Oh my gosh, I'm so mad. So, George Orwell, Wells, Hitler, and the World State. So, in March or April, say the wiseacres, there is to be a stupendous knockout blow at Britain. What Hitler has to do with it, I cannot imagine. His ebbing and dispersed military resources are now probably not so very much greater than the Italians before they were put to the test in Greece and Africa. The German air power has been largely spent. It is behind the times, and its first-rate men are mostly dead or disheartened or worn out. In 1914, the Hohenzollern army was the best in the world. Behind that screaming little defective in Berlin, there is nothing of the sort. Yet our military experts discuss the waiting phantom in their imaginations. It is perfect in its equipment and invincible in its discipline. Sometimes it is to strike a decisive blow through Spain and North Africa and on, or march through the Balkans, march through Danube, or to Ankara, to Persia, to India, or to crush Russia, or pour over the Brenner into Italy. The weeks pass and the Phantom does none of these things for one excellent reason. It doesn't exist to that extent. Most of such inadequate guns and munitions as it possessed must have taken away form and fooled away in Hitler's silly feints to invade Britain. And its raw, jerry-built discipline is wilting under the creeping realization that the blitzkrieg is spent and the war is coming home to roost. So it looks like war's almost over at this point. So you're probably right about it being sometime in 44 when this is written. So because we're past the blitzkrieg, which is the bombing of Britain. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now this was a quotation from a paper. These quotations are not taken from the Calvary Quarterly, but from a series of newspaper articles by Mr. H.G. Wells, written at the beginning of this year, and now reprinted in a book entitled Guide to the New World, since they were written in the German army has overrun the Balkans and reconquered Cyrenaica. I butchered that. I apologize. It can march through Turkey or Spain at such a time as may suit it, and it has undertaken the invasion of Russia. So, first part of that article, Wells was making these claims that Hitler is weak, and apparently Wells was wrong. So that's what we're getting at right here. So now Hitler has invaded Russia. He's turned on Stalin. How that campaign will turn out, I do not know, but it's worth noticing that the German general staff, whose opinion is probably worth something, would not have begun it if they had not felt fairly certain of finishing it within 3 months. So much for the idea that the German army is a bogey, its equipment inadequate, and its morale breaking down, etc., etc. What has Wells to set against the screaming little defective in Berlin? The usual rigmarole about a world state, plus the Sankey Declaration, which is an attempted definition of fundamental human rights of anti-totalitarian tendency, except that he is now especially concerned with federal world control of air power. Do you remember in the movie Things to Come? He was all about taking over the world of airplanes. His master scientists were going to take over the world of airplanes. So that's probably where these ideas that's probably the reference that this part of the article is referring to. All right. It is the same gospel as he has been preaching almost without interruption for the past 40 years, always with an air of angry surprise at the human beings who can fail to grasp anything so obvious. What is the use of saying that we need federal world control of the air? The whole question is how we are to get it. What is the use of pointing out that a world state is desirable? What matters is that not of the 5 great military powers would think of submitting to such a thing. What matters is that not one of the great 5 military powers would think of submitting to such a thing. All sensible men for decades past have been substantially in agreement with what Mr. Wells says, but the sensible men have no power, and in too many cases, no disposition to sacrifice themselves. Hitler is a criminal lunatic, and Hitler has an army of millions of men, aeroplanes in thousands, tanks in tens of thousands. For his sake, a great nation has been willing to overwork itself for 6 years and then to fight for 2 years more, whereas the more common sense, essentially hedonistic worldview which Mr. Wells puts forward, hardly a human creature is willing to shed a pint of blood. Before you even talk of the world reconstruction or even of peace, you've got to eliminate Hitler. which means bringing into being a dynamic not necessarily the same as that of the Nazis, but probably quite as unacceptable to enlightened and hedonistic people. What has kept England on its feet during the past year? In part, no doubt, some vague idea about a better future, but chiefly the atavistic emotion of patriotism and the ingrained feeling of the English-speaking peoples that are superior to foreigners. So, what he's referring to here is Wells was always railing against nationalism. So, Wells thought that nationalism was one of the things causing calamity. And Orwell is pointing out that it's that sense of nationalism that's keeping Britain alive in spite of the Blitzkrieg. Blitzberg.
What exactly is nationalism?
It's patriotism, like belief in your country, belief in your people,
Oh.
belief in Western civilization, that kind of thing. So yeah. So he's basically refuting Wells's hostility towards nationalism in this paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, so let me find out where I was again. For the last 20 years, the main object of English left-wing intellectuals has been to break this feeling down, again, referring to nationalism. And if they had succeeded, we might be watching the SS men patrolling the London streets at this moment. If they'd gotten rid of nationalism, the Nazis might have won. Similarly, why are the Russians fighting like tigers against the German invasion? In part, perhaps for some half-remembered idea of utopian socialism, but chiefly in defense of Holy Russia, the sacred soil of the fatherland, etc., which Stalin has received in an only slightly altered form. The energy that actually shapes the world springs from emotions, racial pride, leader worship, religious beliefs, love of war, which liberal intellectuals mechanically write off as anachronisms and which they have usually destroyed so completely in themselves as to have lost all power of action. So, emotions drive people to action. These intellectuals just talk. That's what that means.
Oh, yeah.
The people who say that Hitler is Antichrist, or alternatively the Holy Ghost, are nearer an understanding of the truth than the intellectuals who, for 10 dreadful years, have kept it up that he is merely a figure out of a comic opera, not worth taking seriously. All that this idea really reflects is the sheltered conditions of English life. The Left Book Club was at bottom a product of Scotland Yard, just as the Peace Pledge Union is a product of the Navy. One development of the last 10 years has been the appearance of the political book, a sort of enlarged pamphlet combining history with political criticism, as an important literary form. But the best writers in this line, Trotsky, Rushing, Rosenberg, Sullivan, Borkenau, Kotzler, and others have none of them been Englishmen, and nearly all of them have been renegades from one or the other extremist party, who have seen totalitarianism at close quarters and known the meaning of exile and persecution. Only in the English-speaking countries was it fashionable to believe, right up to the outbreak of war, that Hitler was an unimportant lunatic and the German tanks made of cardboard. Mr. Wells, it will be seen from the quotations I have given above, believes something of the kind still. I do not suppose that either the bombs or the German campaign in Greece have altered his opinion. A lifelong habit of thought stands between him and an understanding of Hitler's power. Mr. Wells, like Dickens, belongs to the non-military middle class. The thunder of guns, the jingle of spurs, the catch in the throat when the old flag goes by, leaves him manifestly cold. He has an invisible hatred of the fighting, hunting, swashbuckling side of life, symbolized in all his early books by a violent propaganda against horses. The principal villain of the Outline of History is the military adventurer Napoleon. Now, the Outline of History is one of those books where you really see Wells's belief in evolution and the survival of the fittest, and he kind of wants to defeat that process with his, collection of experts that are meant to rule the world. So that's why he's referring to that book, because it's kind of the basis for his view on, this world government thing.
Oh, okay.
So, if one looks through nearly any book that he has written in the last 40 years, one finds the same idea constantly recurring. The supposed antithesis between the man of science who is working towards a planned world state and the reactionary who is trying to restore a disorderly past. In novels, utopias, essays, films, pamphlets, the antithesis crops up always more or less the same. On the one side, science, order, progress, internationalism, airplanes, steel, concrete, hygiene. On the other side, war, nationalism, religion, monarchy, peasants. Greek professors, poets, horses. History, as he sees it, is a series of victories won by the scientific man over the romantic man. Now, he is probably right in assuming that a reasonable planned form of society with scientists rather than witch doctors in control will prevail sooner or later, but that is a different matter from assuming that this is just around the corner. There survives somewhere in other an interesting controversy which took place between Wells and Churchill at the time of the Russian Revolution. Wells accuses Churchill of not really believing his own propaganda about the Bolsheviks being monsters, dripping with blood, etc., but of merely fearing that they were going to introduce an era of common sense and scientific control in which flag wavers like Churchill himself would have no place. Of course, the Bolsheviks had a very violent revolution and overthrew the Russians. I think it was the Russian czars in World War I, if I remember correctly. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But Churchill's estimate of the Bolsheviks, however, was nearer the mark than Wells's. The early Bolsheviks may have been angels or demons, according as one chooses to regard them, but at any rate they were not sensible men. They were not introducing a Wellesian utopia, but a rule of the saints, which, like the English rule of the saints, was a military despotism enlivened by witchcraft trials. The same misconception reappears in an inverted form in Wells's attitude towards the Nazis. Hitler is all the warlords and witch doctors in history rolled into one. Therefore, argues Wells, he is an absurdity, a ghost from the past, a creature doomed to disappear almost immediately. But unfortunately, the equation of science with common sense does not really hold good. The airplane, which was looked forward to as a civilizing influence, but in practice has hardly been used except for dropping bombs, is the symbol of the fact. Modern Germany is far more scientific than England, and far more barbarous. Much of what Wells has imagined and worked for is physically there in Nazi Germany. The order, the planning, the state encouragement of science, the steel, the concrete, the airplanes are all there, but all in the service of ideas appropriate to the Stone Age. Science is fighting on the side of superstition. But obviously, it is impossible for Wells to accept this. It would contradict the worldview on which his own works are based. The warlords and the witch doctors must fail. The common sense world state, as seen by a 19th century liberal whose heart does not leap at the sound of bugles, must triumph. Treachery and defeatism apart, Hitler cannot be a danger. That he should finally win and be an impossible reversal of history, like a Jacobite Restorian. So what he's essentially saying is that the scientists were supposed to be a peaceable lot, but as technology has advanced, those primitive ideas about war have remained the same.
Wow.
So he's
You can really tell he doesn't like him.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't like them. So, but for our purposes, this idea of trusting the science, trusting the institutions, that's going to lead us to some kind of civilized age. Well, that clearly doesn't work. And that's Wells's point. Because if you don't have morality, if you don't have those emotional sentiments, you don't have nationalism, patriotism, and everything else, you don't have any reason to be good. So you just get this cold technology that shares the values of the Stone Age.
Right.
So, quite interesting, I would say.
Yeah, it is.
Shall we go on?
Continue.
Continue. All righty then. Hang on here. Let me switch this back. So, but it is not a sort of paracade for a person of my age, 38, to find fault with H.G. Wells, but it's sort of parasite. My mistake, guys. I can't read. But it is not. But is it not a sort of parasite for a person of my age, 38, to find fault with H.G. Wells? Thinking people who were born about the beginning of the century are in some sense Wells's own creation. So he's basically saying, am I not attacking my elders? How much influence any mere writer has, and especially a popular writer whose work takes effect quickly, is questionable. But I doubt whether anyone who was writing books between 1900 and 1920, at any rate in the English language, influenced the young so much. So Wells was very influential. The minds of all of us, and therefore the physical world, would be perceptibly different if Wells had never existed. Only just the singleness of mind, the one-sided imagination that made him seem like an inspired prophet in the Edwardian age, make him a shallow, inadequate thinker now. When Wells was young, the antithesis between science and reaction was not false. Society was ruled by narrow-minded, profoundly incurious people, predatory businessmen, dull squires, bishops, politicians who could quote Horace but had never heard of algebra. Science was faintly disreputable and the religious beliefs obligatory. Traditionalism, stupidity, snobbishness, patriotism, superstition, and love of war seemed to be all on the same side. There was need of someone who could state the opposite point of view. Back in the 1900s, it was a wonderful experience for a boy to discover H.G. Wells. There you were in a world of pedants, clergymen, and golfers, with your future employers exhorting you to get on or get out, your parents systematically warping your sexual life, and your dull-witted schoolmasters sniggering over their Latin tags. And here was this wonderful man who could tell you about the inhabitants of the planets and the bottom of the sea, and who knew that the future was not going to be what respectable people imagined. A decade or so before airplanes were technically feasible, Wells knew that within a little while men would be able to fly. He knew that because he himself wanted to be able to fly. He knew that because he himself wanted to be able to fly, and therefore felt sure that research in that direction would continue. On the other hand, even when I was a little boy, at a time when the Wright brothers had actually lifted their machine off the ground for 59 seconds, the generally accepted opinion was that if God had meant us to fly, he would have given us wings. Up to 1914, Wells was in the main a true prophet. In the physical details, his vision of the new world has been fulfilled to a surprising extent. But because he belonged to the 19th century, and to a non-military nation and class, he could not grasp the tremendous strength of the old world, which was symbolized in his mind by fox-hunting Tories. He was and still is quite incapable of understanding that nationalism, religious bigotry, and feudal loyalty are far more powerful forces than what he himself could describe as sanity. Creatures out of the dark ages have come marching on into the present, and if they are not ghosts, they are at any rate ghosts which need a strong magic to lay them. The people who have been shown the best understanding of fascism are either those who have suffered under it or those who have a fascist streak in themselves. A crude book like The Iron Heel, written nearly 30 years ago, is a truer prophecy of the future than either Brave New World or The Shape of Things to Come. Brave New World is Aldous Huxley. Shape of Things to Come is H.G. Wells. That's the book from which Things to Come, the movie, is based. So if one had to choose among Wells' own contemporaries, a writer could stand towards him as a corrective, one might choose Kipling, who was not deaf to the evil voices of power and military glory. Kipling would have understood the appeal of Hitler, or for that matter, of Stalin. Whatever his attitude towards them might be, Wells is too sane to understand the modern world. That's the famous quote that everybody uses from this essay. Wells was too sane to understand the modern world.
Too sane?
Too sane. The succession of lower middle class novels, which are his greatest achievement, stopped short of At the Other War and never really began again. And since 1920, he has squandered his talents in slaying paper dragons. But how much it is, after all, to have any talents to squander. And that's the essay.
What does it mean by too sane? Like he's too
sorry?
intelligent? When it says he's too sane?
He's not cynical enough. He doesn't understand human evil, and he doesn't believe in the doctrine of human evil.
Okay.
So because he doesn't believe in actual evil, he doesn't understand that this technocratic world that he has envisioned, it can never be, because technology can be used for evil just as easily as it can be used for good. But that was a sentiment that a lot of people back then had. They felt that because mankind was evolving, the more we learned, the more technology we had, the more like evil would diminish. But that just wasn't true. Technology got used for evil because technology is an amoral tool.
It's still used for evil.
Yeah. But they didn't think that. They thought mankind was evolving. There was like this evolutionary paradigm. You know, they thought men were just getting bigger and better and faster and stronger. They weren't just finding new and inventive ways to kill each other.
Huh.
So, well, what do you think,
supposed to
Mr.
be
Trevor? Was that interesting, or was I just boring the crap out of everybody by reading an essay from like
It was
90 years
interesting.
ago or 80
I mean,
years ago?
I learned a little bit of history there, so
Yeah. I just think
I
it's
also
interesting.
learned. I also learned that two very intellectual people can hate each other.
Oh, yes, there's a big fight among the authors. You know, a lot of this discussion about, fascism and socialism and communism was going on with the fiction writers, science fiction in particular. So you can't say science fiction is just trite. Some of the biggest philosophic debates of the time were held in science fiction. So, okay, well, hopefully I haven't bored our audience to tears. I took a risk just reading it, but I wanted people to see what that was like, what people were saying. So,
Well, someone's still with us. So
there's somebody still with us.
I don't
Well,
know who
good.
it
I'm
is,
glad
but
they're
still
here.
with us.
I'm glad they're here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Okay, so you got any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right. George Orwell was right. George Orwell is awesome. He's the good guy of the plot. H.G. Wells was a madman. Not a fan. Not a fan
We're
at
all
all.
madmen in somebody's eyes.
I guess so. All right. Well, we're going to move on to part 3. So, guys, if you are still with us, don't go anywhere. We got another part to go. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. On to part 3. Are you ready, Trevor?
Part for the cools.
Are you excited, Trevor?
No.
You're not? Well, goodness
Hang on, let me
sake.
drink some coffee.
You're going to drink some coffee.
Now I'm excited.
Now you're excited. Okay.
What's part
I
3
forgot.
about?
Dadgum. I pulled up this picture. Just so you know, there's Wells and Orwell. I had that picture pulled up. I should have probably used that while I was reading. That's
fine.
That would have been smarter. I'm an idiot.
We could
Well.
have used AI and made it look like they were reading.
We probably could do that. I mean, it is a switchboard, but it can read a newspaper. So, yes, we probably could have pulled that off. Anyway, too late now. So, we're moving on to the next episode. Are you ready?
No.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You know you are, because he's one of our go-to favorites. I guess before I get into it, though, I need to introduce us. So, welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folk. Phone interrupted the intro. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to have the podcast up. And today, we're going over AMmon Hillmon.
Ooh, AMmon.
AMmon, our buddy.
His hill and his man.
I don't think let's see. Who did we make the most people angry? It was either AMmon Hillmon. There's 3 groups that
Biggs.
got really, really mad.
Brandon Biggs' group got kind of upset with us.
Which group?
Brandon Biggs,
Yeah, they were relatively nice about it though.
Trump's prophet.
Yeah, Trump's prophet, Brandon Biggs. They were kind of nice though. They were not the worst though. No, the
Kenneth
worst
Copeland
was
group got pretty heavy.
huh?
The Kenneth Copeland group got pretty heavy.
Did they get heavy?
I think.
I don't remember much from the Kenneth Copeland crowd. I remember some guys gave us some other names from the Brandon Biggs crowd.
Oh, that's right.
They were fine. Brandon Biggs guys were fine. No, but the Tataria people were vicious.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah,
what it was.
I was bitter about that. And then, let's see, there was Brandon Biggs we made mad. The other people that were vicious was AMmon Hillmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just being silly, though.
Well, they might have thrown some hexes at us. I'm not sure. There was some dude trying to defend child sacrifice in the comments. It was all kinds of nuts.
Well,
There's some fun people on the internet. Ha ha ha. But anyway, I really wanted Cody to be here because Cody was right. Do you remember how Cody was like, this dude is a demon, he's manifesting demons?
Yeah.
And I kind of thought he was being tongue-in-cheek. He wasn't, but he was spot on because this dude, we thought he was getting fired apparently because of like his weird translations of the Greek. Apparently, it was a little deeper than that. And Michael Knowles, the good soul that he is, did a video on him, and we missed it. It was mentioned in the video we watched, but we missed it. We missed the part where he was clearly astral projecting. Apparently, he was astro projecting and tormenting some
Teleporting?
college girl.
Teleporting.
Teleporting, yes. So, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to tell Cody he nailed it. I thought it was, a little silly, but he nailed it. Apparently, this guy has been delving into the occult. Who would have thunk?
Huh.
So,
I wonder
at least
why
that's
he
the
would
way I
do
understood
that.
Michael Knowles' video, and we're going to confirm it.
Let's confirm it.
All right, here we go. So this is Michael Knowles. Wes Huff causes a demon to show itself. Dr. AMmon Hillmon rage clip reaction. Here we go.
Oh.
It's what the devil gives you, man. It's what the devil gives you. This is from everything. Everything, Wes Huff, you fake.
Different levels
yeah.
of contextual application.
Remember watching that?
So
Pulling the demon out of
Stop,
you.
stop, stop, stop.
Contextualization,
Stop, you're
there's
trying to.
document
No,
contextualization,
stop. I can't take it. I can't
That
take it.
was-
I can't take
You
it.
look
Please,
like you're
thank you.
going through an exorcism right now.
Steve,
Is
stop.
Wes Huff pulling the devil out of you right now?
God.
He's
Oh, God,
confusing
stop.
and
It's so
Haven't you
bad.
ever heard of hermeneutics?
It's.
realms of how
It took 2,000 years, but apparently now some guy is revealing the real truth about the Gospels. This guy, I don't know anything about him. His name is AMmon Hillmon, and I guess he taught at a Catholic university, St. Mary's in Minnesota. He's since been let go because he has all sorts of kooky ideas about the gospel, and he recently went viral. Is that Mr. Davies? Is that right? Do I have that right?
That's the gist. And he went viral on this podcast like 2 years ago, discussing
Darwin 1108 says, still here, very interesting.
Oh,
Thank
hey,
you.
Darwin.
Appreciate it.
the truth of the Bible and what the real ancient Greek said.
The truth of the Bible. Often, it's not every time, but when people say, well, actually what the Greek really means, like 7 out of 10 times, you're about to hear the most heretical exegesis that you've ever heard in your whole life. I
like Michael Knowles, but that's an oddly specific number, 7 out of 10. But
Yeah.
anyway.
just want to go in and hear this guy on his own terms.
The following guest, Dr. Hillmon, has a master's degree in bacteriology.
Yes, sir.
So we reacted mostly to part 1 of his interview with what's that guy's name? Oh, I forgot his name.
Danny Jones?
Danny Jones. Yeah, there was actually 2 parts. And we started to look at the second part. So this is the second part that we didn't look at.
Oh, so if we just persisted in the stupid, we would have caught this.
We would have got this, yes.
Oh,
Because this was
gosh.
in part 2.
I felt like we really missed an opportunity here. I was very sad that Michael Knowles got to it first because we were ahead of the curb. This guy was clearly possessed by demons.
Well, it's a 2-hour podcast too, so we didn't
Yeah.
really want to go over 2 hours.
We didn't
of
want to react to
podcast.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. We should have. Because Cody was dead on. He nailed it. He
Yeah.
nailed it. That or you? Was it you who said he was a demon, or
Both
was
of
Cody?
us.
I was pretty sure it's Cody.
It was both of us. We were both like, yeah, he's manifesting. And Cody said it, more than I did, but yeah.
Okay. Well, see, I thought it was just shrooms. So you guys nailed it. I thought he was just burned out, but congrats. This guy is possessed. We'll see here.
Master's degree in classics as well as a PhD in classics until he was eventually investigated by the Catholic Church for demon possession, which led to him being ejected by his university.
Didn't the church or something come make a statement about you specifically?
I was investigated by the Catholic Church.
You were investigated by the Catholic Church when?
when I worked for the St. Mary's University.
Really? And how did you find out about this?
I had a Monsignor come to me and say, hey, I've been to, he was one of my students, right? Keeping tabs on everything and learning Greek. He got to learn Greek in the process. So I hope he kept it up to this day. He told me, he said, I've been to 5 meetings about you.
What?
I'm sorry. It's just a weird reaction.
Yeah.
Michael Knowles did the head tilt
So-
the same time I did. I was like, wait, what? Why would
Yeah.
you say that?
So the earlier video where he was talking about Wes Huff, that's part 2. This one is part 1.
Yeah. Well,
Because
see,
we went over this one.
we didn't go over the beginning, though. We didn't find this, why they were investigating him for possession.
Yeah, that was part 2.
Yeah,
The
so
one we didn't really go over.
maybe he's chopping it up, but we missed this. So it was very interesting. But no, it's like he's acting guilty. That's like the weird thing about it. It's like, oh, I really hope he kept up with that Greek. He just accused you of being possessed. Can we get back to that? It's just a weird thing to say. So anyway, I mean, maybe he's nervous. Who knows?
I couldn't help but laugh. You know what I mean? At this time, I had professors coming to me going, "You're going to get fired. You're going to get fired." And, oh, by the way, we support what you're doing, but we're not going to put our asses out there.
Right.
I thought, well, cowards, but whatever. I had to stay true to the sources. So I did. So the Catholic Church, look, a student on campus claimed that she woke up at 4:35 in the morning, and that I was floating. I floated through the door of her dorm and hovered over her roommate and had with her roommate as I hovered over her bed. And then she woke up and made a noise, and I extended my hand and paralyzed her. Now, this student was released from school due to the mania. It was a mental discharge.
This was one of your students?
No, she wasn't one of my students. She was one of the students that was working on the play, the Medea, that I was the contracted advisor for.
Okay.
And the student that I allegedly hovered over and made cosmic love to was the lead role as the younger form. We had two forms. We had a younger, the one that killed her brother, and then an older form. Yeah.
So I have so many questions. Why would you, I kind of believe her because I'm like, why would you even make that up? It's such a weird thing to even make up. Like, there's like a whole story there, I'm sure. But I just wanted to bring it up because apparently this guy knows how to astral project, if the account is true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes in line with, have you ever heard of people talk about they get attacked in their sleep by a demon?
Yeah, it's like sleep paralysis stuff.
Okay, it's usually someone like AMmon Hillmon here astral projecting.
Yeah, it's like, so he's messing around with a girl, I guess, and then he gets caught and freezes the other girl. So we are missing so much context here because why would you make that up? B, why would the Catholic Church be inclined to believe that? Like, they're not that eager to investigate possessions. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you know anything about like those exorcism communities, they're still like embarrassed that they still have exorcisms. Like, they're like having psychologists go with them and they're trying to verify everything because they're sheepish about it. So why would they be so quick to believe this?
Well, they actually believe a lot of this type of stuff. There are some, I forget the names of them, but there are some of the exorcists that are going out on podcasts and talking about a bunch of different stories and whatnot.
Well, yeah, there's always been exorcists going around and talking about it, but like the church, you know, the church
overall.
Yeah, the leadership, let's say. There's a kind of, we really hate to even admit this is going on type of culture.
Yeah.
There.
Well, my personal
I'm just a
opinion
little surprised that they were so quick to latch on. I mean, maybe they were like I'm being tongue-in-cheek by saying it turns out he really was possessed. But, you know, I'm just baffled by this whole thing because it's like a demonic Me Too scenario.
Right.
And I'm like a little baffled by it. So I'm just shocked that, A, the girl would even make the claim. I mean, it's just hard to imagine somebody, if you're going to lie, why lie like that? And why would you lie like that to a bunch of people who probably aren't going to be predisposed to believe you? It's just weird. And then they do believe you. And I'm kind of like, were they just like super eager to get rid of this guy because of his weird interpretations of the Greek?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird story. It's really odd.
So they had a hearing. They had an
So who did she tell this to? Who did she tell the story to?
Administration.
And then how did the Catholic Church get involved?
The Catholic Church had an inquiry, and the bishop had to come and sit. I'm sure it was hilarious.
I love this innocence of the podcast interviewer. He says, and how did the Catholic Church get involved? Because he obviously doesn't understand how the Catholic Church works. He thinks it's just this kind of monolithic entity, this foreign entity that just comes in every so often when there are reports of apparitions floating over a student's bed or something, when in fact it's a Catholic university. So the episcopate is going to be involved to some degree, and there are going to be bishops and priests on campus, and it's not, it's not like one day the professor rings up Rome and says, okay, send in the Inquisition. We've had a strange play of Medea. So already off the top, I don't know anything about this guy, but he does strike one as a little bit odd. One, he says, well, I had to be true to the sources. So it's a little foreshadowing of some presumably heretical view of the Gospels. I had to be true to the sources and disregard 2,000 years of church teaching, which, whatever you want to say about that view, usually does not redound to staying true to the sources. If I had to take a bet, who am I going to trust on the sources? The fathers of the church and the doctors of the church, everyone from St. Ignatius of Antioch through, I don't know, Justin Martyr, Jerome, Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, all the way up through present day. Or like the guy with the head tattoos who directed Medea at the random university. I'm probably going with my main men.
Normally, I would be arguing with Michael Knowles on this point, but
he's hilarious.
But yeah, then I heard about the purple.
Oh yeah,
it's like you put the salve over the eyes.
I'd like to see Michael Knowles react to Bob Larson, because that's the one where we were like, he's manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where AMmon Hillmon against Bob Larson. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, where he started. Well, he apparently manifested, if we want to use that term, twice.
Yeah,
but I mean, the whole debate was, okay, is manifesting just getting really mad because this is a very fragile soul, or is this possession? But apparently he's like a creeper who floats around in women's dorms, so maybe it's possession,
Yeah.
It's just such a weird story.
Well, the term triggering, that triggers somebody.
You get triggered, you get riled up.
Same thing.
Yeah.
They're manifesting.
I mean, I guess I don't necessarily think there's a demonic component to that. I think it's just people get upset, but
yeah,
he was definitely upset. Apparently, he didn't like the word hermeneutics. Didn't mesh with his purple.
Probably. Hold on 1 second. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Knowles. We all know we should be eating more fruits and vegetables.
Okay, I follow Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers rule. If we're going to use somebody else's content, we got to listen to the read through. It's just fair.
Pay for their stuff.
I want you to be honest with me. You are not getting nearly enough variety. That is where Balance of Nature comes in, because what you put in your body matters. Their whole health system gives you 47 different whole food ingredients, 16 fruits, 15 vegetables, 12 aromatic spices, and 4 fibers. We're talking real ingredients like wild blueberries, kale, turmeric, and psyllium husk. When was the last time you just sat down and gorged yourself on some psyllium husk? It's probably been a while. No artificial additives, no sugar added, just nature doing its job. What I love about Balance of Nature is the convenience. I can be on the road. You take the fruits and veggies capsules with water, chew them, open them up, mix them into powder in your smoothies, your yogurt, sprinkle them on your oatmeal. Fiber and spice blend mixes great into drinks too. These supplements are vegan, kosher certified, and gluten-free. They're terrific. They will help you become a Giga Chad like myself and Mr. Davies. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Knowles, KNWLAS, for 35% off your first order as a preferred.
What do you hate? What'd you say you hate?
I need those.
You hate psyllium husk?
No, I need those.
Oh, you need those. You need psyllium husk. Okay, gotcha. I'm tracking.
Customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That is balanceofnature.com. Promo code Knowles. So already off the top, and he's got these kind of weird tics. So, all right, now we've got this apparition. The cosmic lovemaking, as he says. Keep going.
I had a group of people before the inquiry. I had a group of people come to me and say, I was like, who are these people in my office? And they said, we know who you are, and we know what you're doing, and the demons that you're working with. And I was like, excuse me? Right? Excuse me? And then there was the inquiry, the formal inquiry, and it was I'm told it was 2 charges. Number 1 was demon possession, which personally I think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty metal.
No, that is, yeah. Number 2, I was opening portals.
It's not that I'm calling the guy a liar. I just don't know that I believe this guy. Just from his comportment, from his manner of speaking, from the head tattoos, if I'm being totally frank about my prejudices, I'm skeptical. Then he's clearly a jilted.
Shouldn't be judging people over their metal tattoos, Michael. Come on. Book and cover. What are you doing? Glass houses and stuff. We know you got a tattoo somewhere. All right, never mind. I don't know if I believe him or not either. Like, I'm kind of just up in the air about it. I mean... AMmon, yeah. This whole... There's so many questions. It's like...
Yeah.
Nobody, like, in the real world... First of all, if a girl's gonna lie, yeah, there's no way she's gonna, like, lead with that kind of lie. Number 2, if somebody did lead with that kind of lie, there's no way the Catholic Church, especially a Catholic college, because... like, these are professors. Professors are professors. It doesn't matter. As somebody who went to a Christian college, I can tell you that professors are not that different. There's a whole, we're smart men. We're not conspiracy theorists. There's like a whole pride in yourself on being academic aura there. So these are not going to be people inclined to believe a story like that. So I don't know what in the world's going on. This is kind of all over the place to me.
That's fine.
If I'm being serious. What do you think?
I think he's telling his truth. What makes sense to him?
What does that mean? His truth.
That means it's true for him. It might be
I don't know what that
silly.
means.
It might be silly and false for the rest of the world, but for him, it's
okay. Well, forget his truth.
real.
What is objectively true here? What do you think is objectively true? I think something completely unrelated happened, and he's come up with a bullcrap story.
Probably.
That's my opinion. It's complete crap. Is that what you think?
Well, I think he probably, honestly, he probably dreamt that this happened, maybe.
You think he dreamed it?
And it was so real to him that he made it his reality.
I don't know if I buy that, Trevor.
Oh.
I don't know if I buy that.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. But I kind of doubt it. I don't know why you would dream about being fired and floating into somebody's dormitory or lying about somebody lying about you floating into the dormitory. It's just such a weird story. But this is the guy that came up with the purple and the salve and the,
Yeah, the Christing will set you free.
The Christing. Yeah. I guess the one thing is the story is believable because he does bob like a bird and he does manifest. And what was it? What we were reviewing, the Ars Goetia or whatever it's called.
Ars Goetia. Yeah.
Ars Goetia. Yeah, there you go. Like we were looking over that, and he looked exactly like the bird demon that was named after him. He did look exactly like the thing.
AMmon demon.
Yeah, the AMmon demon. Like it was like the resemblance was striking. It was like a dog looking like his owner. It was weird.
Yeah.
So I mean that was unnerving.
That colors it too, from his apparently tenuous grasp of Catholicism, though he was teaching at a Catholic school, through the loose jokes that he's making. Even to say, I think it's metal to be accused of demon possession. You know, I get the joke, but that's really not the sort of thing one jokes about if one takes these things all that seriously. You can joke about demons, but I wouldn't want to joke about playing around with demons, demon possession. I
am personally sympathetic to dark humor, though, so I can be a little sympathetic to that.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I mean, hey, if something's terrible, laughing at it makes it less so. So I can understand having a dark joke or two here and there. I can be empathetic with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people online that really want this guy to debate you. So let's listen to what his response is to your translation of the word Christ.
Hold on one second. So this is so Inception. I'm reacting to Wes Huff reacting to this guy reacting.
And we're reacting to you reacting to that guy reacting to Wes Huff. Yes, this is YouTube.
We all react to each other.
It's like a mirror of sucky reactions.
Now to Wes Huff reacting to. Now we're caught in an Ouroboros. Is that? Do I have that right, Ben?
Yeah, and then we're all watching it.
And you're reacting to me. You're in the Ouroboros too. Okay, keep going.
Perfect. Here we go.
Eternal throne as the second person of the Trinity stepping into humanity. But if you were to say to someone after this, if someone said like, hey, you met Wes Huff, how was he? And you went, he's a little bit condescending. You wouldn't be talking about my humility.
No.
Right? Because that word has a different meaning in its different context. And part of the problem with something like what AMmon says is that he's taking terminology that exists.
I'm going to pretend to be a body language expert for a minute. Okay? You see him start
What's
to
he
move the
doing?
chairs, and did you see his eyebrows go up and the nervous smile?
Yeah.
He knows he's caught.
Yeah.
The dude knows he's caught. He knows his Greek is a load of crap. He knows he's caught. That's what all this is. This is not... I'm joking
not
when I say it was
manifesting.
actually a demon. I'm being tongue-in-cheek. It was a joke. The dude is reacting so harshly because he knows he's caught and he has no rebuttal. That's what it is. Which is also why this guy's disappeared.
Yeah.
After this
I haven't
interview.
heard anything
Yeah, 'cause
else
there's
about
nothing
him.
to say. I mean, he was full of it. He knew he was full of it.
This within the parameters of a specific field, and then he's applying them in areas where there's an entirely different contextual meaning and spectrum of understanding.
It's a big
So
turd.
part of
Pinch
what
it
he
off.
said that some people jumped on was that he says that the word Christ comes from the Greek word chrio, which
Yes.
it does, right? To anoint. And in ancient Greek medical texts, there is a usage of that which he has capitalized on with applying drugs to your eyes. Now, more broadly, chrio does mean to rub, particularly a liquid ointment or substance on your body. There's two sort of terms that are used specifically within biblical studies, but this applies to anything within the ancient world where we're trying to come up with translations in deriving meaning. The first is there's a discipline called hermeneutics, and hermeneutics is this interpretation.
What's so
it's
funny
the
about hermeneutics?
methodology of
That's what I
interpretation
was
that we use in a
thinking.
particular text.
Like, why did you laugh there? That is a thing. It exists. I took it in college. What are you Why?
I don't know.
Before hermeneutics is exegesis. And exegesis is a Greek word that literally means to bring out. Right? The opposite would be eisegesis, to read into. So when
fingering
you're
me.
exegeting something and you're looking at an ancient language, you're trying to get at the author's intention by different levels of contextual application.
He's
So
pulling the
there's
demon out of you.
Stop!
contextualization,
Stop!
there's
You're trying to
document
stop!
contextualization, there's
I can't take it! I
historical
can't take it! I can't take
You
it!
look
Please,
like you're
thank you.
going through an exorcism right now.
Steve,
Is
stop!
Wes Huff pulling the devil out of you right now?
God!
He's
Oh God!
confusing and
Stop! It's so
Haven't
confusing
you
bad.
ever heard of hermeneutics?
It's
realms
Didn't
of
we just do like 5 reaction videos of that scene over and over and over again? It was so great the first time. I forgot how great it was. He's just like, it's like covered in fire ants and battery acid just from the word hermeneutics. Oh man, that's so funny. And it's performative because he knows he's caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows. So anyway.
how we do
Stop. You're trying to get to the intention of the author. No, you're not. You're reading an ancient language.
AMmon, you're pulling.
Yes, you are. When you're reading an ancient language, you study the language so you better understand the intent of the author. Because writers use words, even if they're the same phrases, they use them in different ways. And yeah,
Big words.
you got to understand the context. So yes, if
Context.
there is a medical book that says the anointing, that is not going to have the same connotation as the anointing being applied to a religious figure. Like, that's just not going to have the same context.
Right.
And he knows it.
Pulling out a specific context in Galen's medical text and trying to apply it to everything across the board,
Here's
which
the
is
problem.
which is intellectually dishonest.
Here's the problem. I'm not pulling it out of Galen. Does Galen have it? Yes. Euripides has it. He gets a sex drug that is a Christ. One of the characters asks, is it a Christ? This is not from the medical. This is from everything. Everything, Wes Huff, you fake. Well, it's what.
Yes, but he got a drug. If somebody has like a name that is associated with a drug, that doesn't necessarily mean that their name means the same thing as the drug. It depends on like who's doing the anointing, for example. So in this case, you've got a drug that's some kind of anointing ointment or whatever, and who knows what it does, versus a religious figure who is supposed to do something specific, who is anointed for a specific task. See, you've got anointing, as in some kind of oil that you are anointed with to do a particular thing, versus a person who is supposed to repair something, who is anointed to fix a specific ailment in like the world or whatever. Does that make sense? It's like the figure is supposed to like heal the world in the same way the anointing or the anointed whatever is supposed to like fix an ailment in a person. Right. Am I making sense? It's like in the context of an individual, it's going to be different than in the drug itself.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
What the devil gives you, man. It's what the devil gives you. Look, he's been pumped up in his pride. He thinks he's something now because he slaughtered somebody who was making stuff up. Well, guess what? This is the gymnasium of the cosmos, baby. Right? You'll be taken down. You'll be taken down by somebody who knows.
Well, I'm really torn after
He's going to astral project into your room. Run.
watching this clip. Because, you know, what do I don't know anything about ancient Greek. In most of my experience of, this is not a knock on Wes in any way. Wes has clearly a very good handling of ancient manuscripts. But when you're talking to like Joe Schmo on the street, Joe Schmo evangelist or anti-evangelist, Joe Schmo on Twitter, he says, well, actually, if you go back to the ancient Greek, and none of these people have any grasp on ancient Greek. So I certainly don't. I have a tenuous grasp on Latin. That's more my tradition. So I don't.
Okay, I understand that. That's a fair point. But I just want to add that the stuff I was talking about a minute ago, like context, like that's basic reader's comprehension. You don't need, like, all languages throughout the world are going to have a requirement where you need to understand context. And there's going to be a whole culture around those words. So just understanding, like, the culture, understanding how the word is used in the sentence. Like, you don't need to actually know the pronunciation of the Greek and the exact, like, grammatical structure, the punctuation structure, or whatever. You don't need to know all those details to understand that if you've got a figure with a name, the guy who has the special name is not literally, like, a medicine. It's a metaphor to explain what he's supposed to do. Like, every language has metaphor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, yes, you're right. I mean, I'm not a Greek expert at all, or Latin.
I'm not an expert at all.
I'm barely an expert in English, and I write for a living. So, I mean, you don't need to be an expert in, like, the particulars of a language, because basic reader comprehension is universal.
Right.
Which is kind of why we, as novices, can say he's full of crap, because he's making really obvious mistakes that would be mistakes in any language and culture.
He's taking context out and just making it his own. Whatever.
Right. He was basically trying to say that Christ, if I remember correctly, Christ wasn't even he was a pedophile if he was a guy at all. You know?
Yeah, the 12 disciples were just little boys that he took around with him.
Yeah. And so, like, he's ignoring what the name symbolized. In other words, Christ is supposed to heal the world. You know, he's ignoring that component of what it means to be the anointed one and just applying it to some kind of medicinal thing. It's like, well, the word anointing is in there, so therefore Christ did shrooms or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a complete I mean, it's obvious, and that would be a mistake in any culture.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, you know, you don't. it's better to be an expert than not be an expert, but there are some things that are universal. And he's making very obvious mistakes. So, and speaking of my mistakes, I'm repeating myself, so I'm just going to go on.
Pete and Rick.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
AMmon might be
Wait,
making
hold
an
on.
interesting point.
Shot.
It's just a split, like one line lagged out there for a second.
Okay.
It might have been my internet.
Okay. Are we good now?
Yeah, it's good.
All right.
It's
Sweet.
lined up.
Sweet.
Here, which is no. This context of the word that we get Christ from is not merely coming from this ancient medical text, but it's also coming from a classic of Western literature, which is Medea by Euripides. And actually, this is the common way to use this word. Now, again, you might say, well, it's the common way to use this word in a certain era or in a certain place or in a certain kind of text, and that's not here. So he might still be reading something strange into the Gospels, but it's unclear. And Wes Huff is very good at, speaking in a way that is easily communicating an idea to an audience. And he's saying, look, this guy's reading is outside of what the text permits. And then he says, here's what hermeneutics is. Hermeneutics, interpretive methods, and then exegesis, which is pulling out of the text. And then the guy AMmon, his response to it is not really so much refuting Wes Huff on the points. He's just saying, Wes Huff, he's prideful. I don't like the way he's telling me this or something. I know what hermeneutics is, whatever. And you don't, it's kind of the same criticism that you sometimes hear lobbed at us, at right-wing talking heads, conservative commentators, to say, you're really good at debating 21-year-old know-nothings, but you don't ever debate serious experts, because a lot of our viral clips have happened on campus. And so that's basically the claim that AMmon is making against Wes. The problem is there's no way to judge if it's fair or not, because no one ever really gets to the claim. I'm waiting to see what is the radical exegesis that this guy, who clearly has some strange tics and odd things about him, is getting at. And we never really quite get to it. So I have this odd way of interpreting the word Christ. Okay. It's basically just like diss tracks is all we're getting. He allegedly says something, then Wes Huff responds in a typically polite and erudite way, and then this guy just does a diss track about the but we never actually get down to the substance. But now I'm curious. I wasn't that curious before we looked into this. Now I kind of want to see. There's a chance the guy is not a total lunatic. He does sound a bit out there, but I don't know. Maybe. Do we need to get him and Wes on the show? Do we need to get them face to face?
I think that'd be great.
Let's do it.
Do you think that after watching the second
too.
They don't have somebody who can bleep out the cuss words fast enough. But
Could you imagine Michael Knowles, Wes Huff, AMmon Hillmon, and Bob Larson in the same room?
I think Michael Knowles would do a wonderful job. I think he'd corral them beautifully.
That would be a great podcast. I will call them all and get them all in here.
Well, there you
Probably
go.
not.
There you go. Well, that was a
Maybe
walk
just an
down
email.
memory lane. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd love to see Michael Knowles' reaction to the.
I'm
Bob
sorry I
Larson
was being
video.
tongue in cheek at the beginning of the film, beginning of the video, but the astral projection thing, I was like, that's too much. That's just too much. So I wanted to revisit one of our more popular videos. So
That's very interesting.
yeah, no, that's interesting. I hope I made sense with trying to explain why this guy's clearly wrong.
Yeah, you made sense.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's obvious. I just don't know if I'm saying it right. But anyway, so we're done here unless you got any final thoughts.
I do not.
You do
Just
not?
that I think Michael Knowles would have better context if he started with the Bob Larson video, because that's where AMmon Hillmon first showed up.
Well, we got a better context of it when we actually watched a few of his videos and figured out what he was doing.
Yeah,
Because he's just...
we need to do live reaction. I want to see your reactions to some of his AMmon's teachings.
We did a
on
live
his
reaction,
channel.
if you recall.
On
We
his
could do
channel?
more, huh?
Did we go to his channel?
Yeah, we went to his channel. We went somewhere where it was like just him talking. And it was exactly what Wes Huff described. I mean, he was just pulling words out and throwing this like hyper literal interpretation of the words where it doesn't belong. you know. So like, I think I said at the time, people like the anointed the leaders of Israel were always referred to as the anointed one, because like they had the olive oil and they would anoint the person with oil to commemorate them as king or whatever. And so that was the religious context for the Jews when they said anointed one. And so in the old video, the first time we talked about this, I pointed out that, yeah, Christ was the anointed one because he was going to be the final king in the millennial reign. You know, like he was going to rule the Jewish nation forever. And so he was the anointed one because the kings in the past were always anointed. The Greek, yeah, it's Greek, and yeah, it's using the word anointing, but it's in a Jewish context. So the word's not going to have the same connotation. And so he's sitting here reading the Gospels, which are trying to describe a Jewish culture, which is not Greek, but he's taking a Greek interpretation. You remember us talking about all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting to come back to
So that's what I mean by context. It's like he's taking Greek words with unique Greek connotations and trying to apply them to the Jewish culture, and it makes no blasted sense. It's just dumb. But anyway. So, okay. All right. I think that's all we got for this one. So, guys, if you're on the live stream, stay with us. We got one more segment left if you are watching this after the fact. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
One more segment.
One more set.
What are we going over?
Yeah. All right. We do need to do more AMmon Hillmon videos, man. Like, I forgot what a riot he is. Yeah. He's just fun. And his commenters are great. They're a little scary, but they're great. So, anyway, so the last one, I guess, do you want to lead us in with this one since I haven't let you lead in all night?
What is it?
It's Epstein update.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
That's throwing me off.
Switching to subjects or whatever?
Well, yeah, I keep hearing you ask the question again.
Oh, because you're listening to two different things on your headset.
Yeah, I was listening to the live and this whole time, so.
Oh, well, that's got to be nightmarish. You don't have to do that if it's distracting you, dude.
Yeah, so.
Well, do you want me to lead in?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, all right. Well, turn. If it's not helping, then turn one version off or whatever.
I just did.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll lead us in then. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try F podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And today we are doing an update on Epstein because it has been a wild, wild week. And I promised I was not going to let this one go. It's a conspiracy theory, which is why it's on the folklore section. It just happens to be true and in the news at the moment. But that's not my fault. I have said a million times that the reason I follow this is because I was listening to Alex Jones back when he was talking about this before Epstein got arrested.
Yeah.
And I was so repulsed by the idea that I quit listening to him. And then I later learned that Epstein was real and the island was real and all this crazy crap had actually happened. And so this has always been one of those big conspiracy theories that has annoyed me personally. To be looking at it now, good night, it's been almost a decade later, and it turns out this thing I rejected was true. And
so it's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, so really, I mean, it's one of those things where the folklore was right.
Wow.
So I made a vow I was not going to let this go, and I got particularly mad when Virginia Giuffre died, and everybody knew that they were going to kill her. Everybody knew they were gunning for her. Nobody did anything. So sure enough, like she has this weird car wreck, and she's saying I'm going to die in 3 days, and everybody's like, well, that's crap. They're gunning for her. And then nothing was said or done about it, and then 2 weeks later she's dead. It's really obvious some Fed group killed her.
Yeah, somebody didn't want her around.
Yeah, and nobody talks about it, and it makes me just furious. So I've been on this thing, and I told myself I was not going to put the Three Stooges logo up until October. I was going to give Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel till October. I was going to give them till October before I put up my Three Stooges thing again. I was going to be nice, and I was going to do it. I almost gave in and put it on the overlay this week. I almost did it because it's just Trump's motivations have been incomprehensible to me, and I don't know what to make of them. I don't know what's going on. I fear the worst. Still really hoping that's not the case, but it's getting harder and harder to, hope for the best. So with all of that said, let's just get into what's happened. So the first thing that happened, Mr. Trevor, is do you remember us looking at the video?
The video.
The video that was supposed to be of Jeffrey Epstein's cell that was actually on the other side of the
yeah.
building.
Yeah, I remember that.
And do you remember the charming Pam Bondi going, oh, well, you know how that minute skips?
Yeah.
It's supposed to do that. That's like a computer rotation.
Yeah.
Well, that was crap. It was a bold-faced lie because they released 33,000 documents, and among that material, which apparently most of it was like either redacted or stuff we'd already seen before, there's like 3% of that 33,000 document dump that's supposed to be new. I haven't heard anybody talk about the new stuff. I don't know what all's there, and I wouldn't even know where to find all this stuff. I mean, I'm assuming there's like a government website or whatever, but bottom line, one of the things that was uncovered was the missing minute. And so we're going to let Viva Fry talk about that for a second, and then I'm going to point something out that is bugging me. So let's close up Knowles here, and let's...
So it was an edited video?
Yeah, they did edit it. So she was lying. She was lying her butt off. Wow. She was looking right at the reporters, and it was a bold-faced lie. And now we have the minute.
What else is new?
Right? Anyway, so here's Viva Fry talking about that. Let's just jump about a minute in here.
Is why are they not using the bullhorn that they have right now to start naming names? They are understandably going on about the cover-up, how they were abused, how the authorities did nothing for decades. They have the bullhorn right now talking about how they are the keys, how the FBI has done nothing, and yet they're not naming any names, and I'm not victim blaming. You have the eyes of the world looking at you. You have the ears of the world listening to you. Name the names and name the people that you argue the government has been protecting for the last 2 decades. But setting all that aside, because it will take time to digest and go through the 33,000 individual pages. It will take time to analyze the statements made by the alleged victims. Today, I'm talking about an article in Fox News because it seems they are sort of turning on Pam Bondi, arguably turning on Pam Bondi. Maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there. And I argue, I posit, I predict that they are getting ready to actually turn the political tides on Pam Bondi and create something of a public sentiment to support her being ousted from the Trump administration, something I think should have been done months ago. From an article in Fox News earlier today, missing minute in Jeffrey Epstein jail security video revealed in document dump. House committee releases video filling contested 1-minute gap from night of financier's 2019 death. By Alexandra Koch, September 2nd, 2025. A newly released congressional video fills a 1-minute gap in earlier surveillance from notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein's jail unit on the night of his 2019 suicide. 2 key clips, part of the nearly 34,000 file drop by House Oversight Committee Tuesday night, revealed the highly contested minute missing from surveillance footage filmed outside Epstein's cell block in the Metropolitan Correctional Center. The disputed minute lasted from 11:58:59 seconds on August 9, 2019 to midnight on August 10, 2019. Now, why is this one missing minute of critical importance? Well, some argue that there's actually more than 1 minute missing, but set that aside. There is at least 1 minute missing from the surveillance footage that the DOJ released that was expected to quell all of the conspiracy theories that Jeffrey Epstein totally killed himself. Pam Bondi's explanation as to what happened with that 1 missing minute makes zero sense right now, so she either lied or spoke out of ignorance, neither of which are good circumstances. And for those of you who don't remember, what was Pam Bondi's explanation as...
She lied.
She lied.
She lied. I don't believe that she spoke out of ignorance because that was a very detailed explanation. Somebody sat her in a room and was like, hey, here's what you're going to say. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to sit there and you're going to say that the camera just resets. So, I mean, she clearly lied, and that was clearly a pre-planned thing. And the other thing that ticks me off is Trump sat there and did this whole defense of her or whatever, like complaining about the Epstein I I don't know if like that indignation was supposed to like make people scared of what she said. I don't know what that whole thing. I felt like there was a degree of. Let me put it to you like this. I felt like Trump's response, as bad as it was reacted to on Twitter, there was a performative element to it. And I wonder now that we've confirmed that this was a lie, if there was kind of a, maybe if he like defends her really strongly, people aren't going to look into this too much. Like maybe if that was the thinking. I don't know. Either way, though, it's really obvious she lied. And why is she still there now?
Yeah,
like we've got the confirmation. She clearly looked at that reporter dead in the eye and lied her butt off. Why is she still there?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
It's a good question. It's a good
I'd
question.
let her go.
You know, why would you?
I found those files, by the way.
Oh, did you? Great. We'll take a look at them here just to show them, and maybe I'll try to read them at some point. Yeah. Well, let's look at, because there's one more detail on this video thing I want to look at, and then we'll take a minute and look at those files.
Okay.
So that one magical missing minute, here it is to refresh your memories.
It's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn.
Which nobody believes, by the way. The congressmen that have been listening to the victims this whole week, they don't believe that. They don't believe that it's just his personal CP collection.
Wow.
People don't buy it. So the congressmen are skeptical of that particular claim.
Is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent.
And what really ticks me off about this is the only reason you even make that up is so you can try to guilt people and go, well, look, we don't want to see CP. Maybe we shouldn't bring it up. Like, this is just pure manipulation.
Yeah.
This is just pure pressuring people into not asking any more questions. They're trying to make everybody uncomfortable so that they don't demand answers. And they're just hoping and praying and praying and hoping that people don't go, we don't care about the CP. Give us Jeffrey Epstein's financial records. Was this a government op? Because where the money's coming from and where it's going would tell us a lot. We don't need the CP. We need the financial records. Where are those? Anyway.
I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video,
That's another lie. She would have knowledge on it because Acosta, Jim Acosta, who works for Trump, was the guy that said Epstein was intel. He was told not to press charges. A guy in Trump's administration was told not to press charges against Epstein in the early 2000s because he was intel.
Wow.
So she would know something about that. That's been one of the core claims of this whole thing the entire time. To sit there and play like she's ignorant is a lie.
Released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset. And every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
And now back to the Fox News article, which I dare suggest and predict.
That smile.
Yeah, looking at that, it's almost like she's practiced her lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
The whole thing's a canned speech. It's performative.
Yeah.
Kabuki theater.
That's what it seems like.
I mean, it just... You know, I don't agree with Trump on everything. I never have. You know, I'm probably more liberal on subjects like immigration. But, you know, I voted for Trump because I didn't think he would lie.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have to agree with you on everything. Just don't lie. Like, all these other guys lie and act like you're an idiot. So, like, I don't have to see eye to eye on you. Just tell me what's going on. But this... and the Elon Musk thing where, Elon Musk, he's, just mad about the EV vehicle mandate thing. It's like, no, he wasn't. He said he wasn't. Why are you lying? The internet exists. Like, we can check what people said in the past. Like, we know you're lying.
Yep.
So, like, he's lying now. And that just the whole reason I voted for him. I didn't have to agree with you. Just don't lie to me. Well, here we are.
Here we go.
Is something of a setting of the table for the political dismissal of Pam Bondi. Fox News combined the two clips after the latest release on Tuesday, showing there was indeed no lapse in footage, contradicting Attorney General Pam Bondi's previous explanation that the last minute of footage is deleted every night. Quote, what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night the video is reset and every night should have the same minute missing, end quote. Bondi previously said in a meeting at the White House. Why is this so important? Some of you might accuse me of making a mountain out of a molehill. I argue that this is critically important for one of two reasons. Either Pam Bondi misspoke out of ignorance, or she deliberately misspoke out of the intention to mislead. And I dare say when you do that in front of the President of these United States of America, it's embarrassing for the President of these United States of America, Donald John Trump. In that meeting, Donald Trump went out of his way to defend the people in his administration, specifically Pam Bondi. And I want to open a parenthesis here to say that I think Pam Bondi should be fired not only because of her dealing with the Epstein file, the debacle that is her dealing with the Epstein file, but because of everything else she has done and has not done as DOJ Attorney General. She has been behind the ball on a number of Second Amendment cases. She was behind the ball on the Douglas Mackey case. She's behind the ball on the Roger Ver Bitcoin Jesus persecution in California. She has been behind the ball on a number of key cases. Following through on Biden administration policies in the Trump administration, she should have been fired for that. Now she's blown this entire Epstein debacle so far out of the water, humiliated influencers and the alternative media. She should be gone last month. And now that it looks like Fox News is setting the table, I dare say internally the memo might have gotten out, and I'm predicting that Pam Bondi is not long for the Trump administration anymore. And the importance of that missing minute, at first I was unenthused and didn't think much of the missing minute and thought it was making a mountain out of a molehill. It just happened to be that Pam Bondi is either not knowing what's going on or she's knowing what's going on and deliberately misleading people. But then I noticed a character appear in that missing minute, and I went back and revisited some articles from a few years ago, and like Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. From CBC News World, Jeffrey Epstein prison guards admit to falsifying records, make deal to avoid jail time. Tova Noel, Michael Thomas accused of browsing internet during financier's suicide. From the Associated Press, posted May 21, 2021. And what does that article say under the photo of Epstein? Epstein's death was a major embarrassment for the Federal Bureau of Prisons and highlighted major security and staffing issues within the agency. During 1 2-hour period, both appeared to have been asleep, according to the indictment filed against them. And at the time, I remember thinking this is laughably stupid. They think we're idiots to ask us to believe a series of comical errors. The guards were sleeping, they didn't do the required checks, the surveillance cameras weren't working, or they deleted the evidence, and yet somehow, years later, we are now told, oh, we found some video evidence that confirms he totally killed himself, except it doesn't actually capture the view of his prison cell.
I'm pleased to announce that we have successfully recovered the so-called missing minute from the surveillance footage of Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell on the evening that he died. Let's pull that up. As you can clearly see, no one enters his jail cell. As far as the mysterious orange shape that appears here, it's a little orange kitty. The kitty never enters the jail cell. It just stands on its hind legs and does a little dance. You're a good kitty. Who's a good kitty? You're a good kitty. Therefore, we can finally put this conspiracy to bed.
It doesn't actually capture the view of his prison cell, and oh yeah, there's a minute missing, but don't worry, that minute is missing every night because it sort of deletes a minute, except no, it didn't delete the minute. There was a minute there, and who do you see in that minute? I dare say it might look like that prison guard, Michael Thomas. Viva Fry at the Viva Fry, who is this prison guard in the newly discovered missing minute from the Epstein prison surveillance video? Is it Michael Thomas, one of the two prison guards who was indicted over their negligent surveillance of Epstein? If so, it doesn't look like Michael was sleeping as the indictment stated.
And here we have Viva Fry's golf voice as he narrates what we see in this video that Fox News has put together. We see a man walking across the lower level, up the stairs onto the second level of the Metropolitan Correctional Facility. He picks up a phone. Nobody knows who he's talking to. Did he phone in his final answer? He awaits for the door to be opened. He holds on to the handle of the door, seems to grab something out of his pocket, brings it out of his pocket, looks at it, puts it in the key to the door. I don't know what he's doing now. He seems to be unlocking something. He's going to reach up and continue holding the handle He finally unlatches the door, brings it open. We wonder what is behind this closet. Is it a linen closet? Who knows?
There's an old commercial from the 80s from the Church of Latter-day Saints about not lying, and it had a catchy jingle. When you tell one lie, it leads to another. When you tell two lies, to cover for the other. Then you tell three lies, oh brother. There's also another expression, what a tangled web we weave when at first we seek to deceive. It seems that the more answers that come out to answer questions that we had previously, the more questions we have arising out of these. What were the prison guards doing? Were they in fact sleeping? Who was that prison guard that now appears in the magical missing minute? And what is going to happen to Pam Bondi? Because I dare say when Fox News starts turning on you, that is an indication that internally the memo has gotten out. You got to get rid of Pam Bondi. Now you've got co-deputy director Andrew Bailey, who was not brought on to be co-deputy director. And I suspect someone's bumping up, someone's bumping out, and we're going to get more answers if we keep pushing for answers in the Epstein file. If you're still watching this and you haven't hit the subscribe button, I don't know what I've got to do to get you to do it. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment in the comment section below. More important than anything, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in your life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
I like Viva. He's chipper.
He's pretty good.
Well, I wasn't suspecting the security guards before. I mean, good night. You want to paint a bullseye on your back? Cut out the 1 minute where one particular guy walks into a door. Oh, so what? Was there like a back way and they went in and killed him from the other direction? I mean, that's a little weird. Why cut that 1 minute out when it just so happens to be that one guy? I mean, we saw other suspicious characters moving in and out, but that was a little weird.
That was odd.
But it doesn't matter. The point is that Adobe, like, it was clearly edited. That whole clock resetting thing was crap.
Yeah.
And it was a bold-faced lie. I don't believe for a second she just didn't know what was going on. She had to make that story up. That's a lie. Weird. Well, that was the first thing that happened this week.
No fun.
Oh, my gosh. So the next thing...
What's the next thing?
Well, some of the victims came out. And I'm trying to decide how much of this to play. I think I'm only going to play the unfortunate bit. But we might... Let's see, that's about 9 minutes. It might be too much. So I'm going to just basically recap and then come in at the end of the girl that I was going to listen to's
audio has a new
section.
feature
After, of
that
course,
just blew my mind.
we
You can
listen
take a
to
link
this
from a
ad,
YouTube video and plug it
which is
into
going to
the
sell us something. All right, so let me just key this off. So about halfway through the week, a bunch of victims come out, do a press conference. It was led by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. So it was one of the larger press conferences to be held out there in a long time. Obviously, people want answers. Bizarrely, though, I mean, bizarre is the wrong word, because basically, here's the problem. You've got what appear to be real victims mixed in with opportunists, and we don't know who's who. And so it seems that there is kind of this movement in, I guess you would call it pro-Trump circles, to negate the credibility of the real witnesses by pointing out the false ones.
Oh.
And there is a certain amount of like defense being run for the Trump administration for not releasing these files, and it's basically nitpicking their accounts. One guy who I usually like, it was Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. I usually am a big fan of him. But he was sitting there screaming, "Oh, these girls are so canned." There's one girl in particular who was, real articulate. She was, she was basically very charismatic. And he's like, "This sounds like a canned speech. She's an actor. She's clearly an actor." And I just kind of had to roll my eyes. I'm like, dude, she's a model. Like, people who are models are trained for the stage. Like,
They know
I was friends with Miss Missouri for a long time, and because of our high school, I knew a lot of Miss Missouri people. They're trained to speak. They're trained from little kids to speak. That's part of being a model.
Yeah.
So yes, she's going to be charismatic. They're trained to talk. That's part of the shtick. Anyway, so So I felt like there was a little bit of an over-eagerness to discount these people's testimonies because, I mean, with the emotion there, it's like it puts more pressure on Trump to actually release these files, which he's doggedly not doing. So anyway, but the cynicism wasn't entirely unwarranted because you did have grifters. And one such grifter, we're going to scan over here. First of all, this girl, I believed her. We talked about her before the show. We're not body language experts, but we kind of look at body language sometimes, and I believe her. I think this girl's scared out of her mind. So we'll watch her for a minute, and you guys can decide for yourselves. Or did I get way too far to the end? 'Cause I'm an idiot.
Oh, I think you jumped to the end again.
Yeah, let's just read it a little bit.
The crimes against her, who was convicted of trafficking and tricking 14-year-old girls. She should not have been given a platform, and she should not have been rewarded after that platform in a minimum security resort. And none of you should have to be here today because they should just release the files. No more slow rolling, no more meetings, no more strategy, no more interviews behind closed doors. Release the files and give you all and Rosa the accountability, the exposure, and most importantly, the closure you all deserve. Thank you.
So one of the reasons I believed her is, her body language is very tight. She's clearly holding a lot back. Lots of times when people are being melodramatic, they'll flail out and they'll do exaggerated gestures and that kind of thing. She's very rigid. And for those who don't know, this was a girl that was coming out that day. This was the first time she'd ever been public about what happened. And so essentially what was going on was they were using, I think Wes Lexler, I don't know, one of these guys was the head of Victoria's Secret. And they were using Victoria's Secret as kind of a means to bait people up so they could traffic them. And of course, the real horrible thing about that is these guys had the credentials, you know what I mean? Victoria's Secret's like a legitimate modeling thing. These guys are legitimately connected to it. So it's not like they're hopping on Craigslist and traveling across the country when that was a whole deal. Like, this was a reputable company, and they were thinking they were going to get a legitimate modeling career, and then they were being trafficked into, sex slavery, basically. So there was a number of girls caught up in this. She apparently came out for the first time that day. I found her believable, but, the people who were believable like this person were kind of offset by the following speaker. So let's bring her up. This is Gloria Albright. This woman has basically been associated with every fake Me Too type movement for the last 20 years. She is a notorious villain. Huh?
Why'd they bring her up?
Because I think what happened is the girls, these are not political people. They don't know anything. And so they're wanting to press charges. She's running around charging these big name people. That's what she does. So they just ran to her, thinking they were going to get representation, not realizing she's a crook. But listen to her wording and see if you can spot why everybody was very turned off by her appearance.
You think about it before you file a police report. She thought about it and came back the following week and filed the first documented police report against Jeffrey Epstein in 1997. And you all were betrayed because there was no prosecution. Believe women. Let's hear it. Believe women. Believe women. Believe women. And then...
Remember, that crap was being shouted during the Kavanaugh controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Don't believe what's true. Don't do an investigation. Just believe women because they're women. That was the line at the time. And so this is one of the people pushing that narrative. So her presence wound up kind of undermining the entire press conference in the mind of a lot of the people on the right. I kind of think the people on the right were looking for an excuse for it to be undermined, but she is a legitimate problem because she is a notorious crook. And always has been. At least in this whole, she's known for being associated with these fake accusations. So anyway, so there was that, and Matt Walsh said something that annoyed me. So I'm going to address that for a minute. So they're terrified that they'll be murdered, so their strategy is to appear on camera and announce that they're compiling a list for some future release date. If they were actually afraid for their lives, that would be the absolute worst approach imaginable. No, it wouldn't. We'll explain why here in a minute. He's responding to somebody saying, they're probably terrified that they will be murdered because Virginia Giuffre was murdered.
Yeah.
And maybe they want to alert other victims so that they can come forward and help. And his response is basically, well, why'd they show up on camera? Okay, first of all, Edward Snowden showed up on camera and Julian Assange showed up on camera for the exact same reason. You make a big splash in the media so the CIA doesn't kill you because you're a known figure. That's why you show up on camera. It's like a line of defense against the Fed. Okay? And heck, if you're a believer in aliens, Bob Lazar said the exact same thing in 1994. That's why he went to George Knapp.
Yeah.
You know, it's yes, going in public is one of the ways that people think they can, set up a kind of defense against the Fed. That's well known. That's been known for a long time. Now, one thing that was not addressed was the whole, he does. They're terrified they'll be murdered. Yeah, they're announcing that they're going to compile a list. Now, the way that they're compiling the list is important because these are not rich people. And so if they accuse somebody of trafficking, particularly a billionaire like Mr. Microsoft, then they are going to get sued into oblivion, and they know it. So first of all, you have to convince them that getting on camera is the safest approach, which is a sell. People eventually do it, but it's still a sell. And the second thing is they don't want to announce the names because they don't want to get sued because they have no money. So what they did as a defense is they decided that they were going to compile the list as a group. Therefore, they have anonymity, but that took coordination, which is probably why this list has taken so long. I don't know if they're actually going to come out with it, but the thinking behind that is that if you come out as a group and you give the list collectively, then Bill Gates doesn't know who to sue.
Right.
So that's the thinking. Now, the problem with that is if you've got a bunch of grifters, which Gloria Albright's presence there is certainly suggestive that there would be grifters, then you're going to have fake names mixed in with the real names. And because the FBI is not investigating anything, how the heck are you supposed to know who's who?
Yeah, there's no way to tell, really.
Yeah. And so this is why this is such a huge screw up on the part of the DOJ, because you're going to have real names. You're going to have fake names. We don't know who's who in this whole deal. We need an actual investigation to figure that out, and they won't do their job. But the idea that the entire group is lying because of this tactic, I thoroughly disagreed with Matt Walsh about. I think Edward Snowden and Julian Assange are perfect examples of why you go to the press to protect yourself. Anyway, and I'm frustrated because I feel like he should know that. I don't know why he would say that. That's just irritating to me. So
maybe
anyway,
a paycheck. Maybe a paycheck.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Matt Walsh is usually pretty good, so I'd hate to think it was something that cynical, but that just annoyed me. So anyway. All right, so the last detail that came out this week is it turns out, because we knew that Trump had basically turned Epstein in years ago because of a spat with Mar-a-Lago, and so he was the main guy that was really responsible for getting the guy in jail. Well, Mike Johnson elaborated on that, and it looks like he did it in a screw-up. Apparently, Trump was an FBI informant against Epstein.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's what seems to be implied by Mike Johnson's comment, so let's listen to that really quick.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
So yeah, there's Mike Johnson saying Trump was an FBI informant. That was all over the news, I guess, Friday. And so there's one last detail I'm going to pull up that I forgot to pull up that I should have. But there, like I said, there's been a lot going on this week.
Yeah.
So, hang on a minute.
That is a lot.
And just a cue off of what old Mike Johnson said, if this computer will actually load. Loading.
Load back.
I don't know, maybe the Fed's trying to keep me from getting a picture. I don't know. We'll blame that.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's the CIA.
Yeah. Oh, it just canceled the entire Trump. It just canceled the entire search. Great. Let's try that again.
Oh, wow.
There we go. Hurt a little bit, but you got through it, didn't you?
They're trying to hack your stuff.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get this picture out. That thumbnail's good enough. So, Trump's empathy can't be that great. Because at the same time that this is happening, who's he having dinner with? Bill Gates.
Oh.
Now, maybe this was just a coincidence. I don't know. But, you know, everybody was upset that he was talking with Zuckerberg. I'm not bothered by Zuckerberg because Zuckerberg's been going through a journey since starting jiu-jitsu or whatever. And he seems to be in Trump's court now, despite everything he's done in the past. So I'm not super worried about Zuckerberg so much. But Bill Gates, it's like Epstein had two best buddies, from what we understand. Bill Clinton and Bill Gates. So if you're going to be Mr. Empathetic, how about you not have Captain Turtleneck sit next to your wife? Like, this was just one of the most monumentally stupid things. And this is supposed to be Captain Marketing over here. And he's got that special creature sitting next to his wife, who they've accused of being a prostitute.
Right. Wow.
Oh my gosh. So maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was just a plan and they all just kind of piled on top of each other. Whatever the case may be, this looked really bad. So that's this week in Epstein.
Poor party planning on that one.
Oh yeah, let's just call it poor party planning. Because if it's not poor party planning, then it's obviously an FU to the victim. So we're gonna say it's poor party planning.
I hope Trump doesn't eat his butter.
Oh my gosh, right? It's probably got that tumor meat. Probably eating that tumor meat of his, aren't they?
Yeah.
So anyway, Trump's actions during this whole thing have just been so hard to fathom. On the one hand, yeah, he was an FBI informant that threw Epstein, like, Epstein wouldn't have went to jail if it wasn't for him. That's a big deal. On the other hand, he's acting like such a colossal moron with this whole thing. Like, it's insane. Like, the only thing I could think of is, and this is just me speculating, I don't know, but it's like guys like the people that Epstein was palling around with, like, it's basically everybody with money. So you got the world figureheads in the World Bank type of deal. You've got, I don't know of anybody specific, but, you know, powerful people like what would be in the World Bank. You've got Bill Gates, you've got Bill Clinton, you've got billionaires around the world. Like, potentially these people could shuffle their money around and crash the economy or something if it looks like they're going to go to jail. And there might be enough of them that they could pull it off. Maybe.
That might be what they're trying to keep from happening.
Yeah, they might be saying, you keep your mouth shut or we're going to crash the economy overnight, and we can. If Soros can take out the British currency overnight, then we can take you out overnight. So play ball. And so maybe Trump is stuck in a hot rock in a harsh place. He should still release everything. Justice be done, may the heavens fall. I don't care if the economy crashes. These guys need to go to jail.
Yeah.
But that might be what's going on. I don't know. But this has been just one of the most bizarre things because Pam Bondi should have been fired after that stupid Phase 1 debacle. Right. Why she's there and why she's still there, I don't understand. And the fact that that new minute came out, I mean, that proves definitively that she was lying.
Yep.
Not, oh, I don't know any better. She lied because even if she didn't know what was going on, she acted like she did. So it's a lie. And she made up some bullcrap story about the clocks flipping over because they were from the 90s. That's pretty detailed. To me, that qualifies as a lie. So why she's still there, I don't know. It's just infuriating to me. And the situation just keeps getting worse and worse. But as I said, Trevor, I'm going to wait until October before my Three Stooges bogglehead thing comes back up.
It's almost there.
It's almost there. Hopefully, we will get the list before then. I don't know. Or at least some information, something, an olive branch, something. I don't know. But why does this matter? Equality under the law. If people are so rich that they can't go to jail when they do something wrong, we don't have a society.
Nope.
You've got to have equality under the law, or you're a nation of oligarchs, not a nation of laws. Period.
Yep.
So that's why this matters. Also, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to child trafficking.
Nope.
If that isn't too much to ask.
That is too much to ask.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I'm frustrated. I'm so frustrated, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I voted for this guy. I've been on the Trump trains ever since he said fake news. It's been a long time. So to have it all kind of lead up to this is just excruciating for me.
Yeah.
But, you cannot let these people get away. And the whole freaking joke of it is, like, Trump started this. If Trump hadn't said anything, this wouldn't be the issue it is. Like, he's the one that brought the list up in the first place.
Yeah.
Why do a 180 now? It makes no sense. Nothing makes sense right now. So I'm baffled. Thoroughly baffled. So, I don't know. You have any final thoughts? Because I'm just rambling.
No. You're starting to lose me.
I'm starting to lose you. Okay. Well, it's probably a sign that we need to let it go. So, all right, guys. That's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. If you would be so kind as to subscribe if you liked this show. And, like, share, comment, tell us what we can do better. Tell us to shut up because we're stupid. I don't know. Just engage with us, help the algorithm. It doesn't matter. So, all right, guys, we're done. So thank you all very much for watching.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.